Chapter 2762. During the 2 months, Emperor Rui never came back. The second batch of disciples of the Celestial Emperor sect went there as well. Hu Shiming went as well. Since they were connected, Patriarch would make arrangements. More demons were coming out from the world of the demons. Several powerful ones showed up, but they were all killed by the emperors guarding there. This caught the attention of the Celestial Emperor sect. Lord Li went in person, fearing that there would be more powerful demons. Lu Li continued to cultivate in the Rui Hua. The Rui Hua was still cultivating source energy and trying to use it. 2 months passed by quickly. He had cultivated more source energy, 10 times more than before, which was enough for him to use for thousands of times. Patriarch who did not come. He only sent a letter, asking Lu Li to leave the Celestial Emperor city and stay in his manor. Patriarch who would make arrangements for him. The sects would not care about disciples going in and out of the Celestial Emperor realm. However, if they were to indulge in debauchery in the Celestial Emperor city, they would be looked down upon by the sections. Therefore, the disciples behaved themselves. Nobody paid attention to Lu Li anymore. It had been a long time since there was any news about him. Many people thought that Lu Li was building a deserted world or not a Dharma realm at all. If Lu Li had cultivated source energy, he would have reported it immediately, and everyone would be shouting about him. Last time, Lu Li came out looking gloomy. Naturally, people thought he had failed in cultivating source energy. This time, Lu Li came out looking gloomy as well. The patriarch in charge of supervising glanced at him and then ignored him. Lu Li left the Celestial Emperor's city by teleportation formation and went directly to his manor. Nobody paid attention to him along the way. A moment later, Lu Li heard a voice. "Lu, don't worry. Wait for a few days. We will leave when no one is paying attention to you." "Okay." Lu Li nodded. It was Yin Zhu who sent the message. He was not in a hurry anyway. Lu Li continued to cultivate. A few days later, a guest came to his castle. As soon as the guest came in, his face glowed and his appearance changed. He looked exactly like Lu Li. Li Li substituted the peach for the dead. Lu Li nodded. Hu family was thoughtful. The fake Lu Li had been cultivating here. At least, he would not be exposed before Emperor Rui came back. Even if Wang Ningxue came back, Hu family could fool her. The man gave Lu Li a mask. Lu Li put the mask on and went into a castle. Then, he teleported away. The domain gate set up by the Hu family was located in a secret castle near the Celestial City. Yanzu had already been waiting there for a long time. There weren't many people in this castle, only 2 servants. This was already arranged by Yanzu. "Is it ready?" Yanzu looked at Lu Li and said solemnly. Lu Li nodded. Yanzu said, "I have been in closed-door cultivation for many years, but it is still easy for the Holy Maiden sect to find out who I am. I will not show up for the time being." Lu Li was confused. He asked, "Didn't we reveal our identities?" "I thought about it and decided not to reveal your identity as a disciple of the Heavenly Emperor sect for now." Yin Zhu explained, "First of all, I'm not a famous Dharch of the Celestial Dharch sect, so we can't represent the Celestial Dharch sect. Also, there are only 2 of us, so it doesn't make sense. The female sage sect will be suspicious. When the time comes, we will send a message to the Heavenly Emperor sect. They will definitely send experts over immediately." So, Yin Zhu continued, "Let's go and see if there is any way. I know a patriarch of a big family over there. We can ask them for help. Let's go back first." Okay. Lu Li knew that this matter could not be rushed. He had to go and see. "Let's go." Yin Zhu waved his hand and opened the domain gate in person. Soon, the runes lit up and a domain gate appeared in midair. The 2 dashed in and disappeared. After they left, the castle was sealed off by the servants. Nobody could come in. This time, they had traveled a long distance, and it would take a long time. The construction of the domain gate would take a long time as well. Lu Li's soul was strong, but he still felt dizzy. He did not know how long it had been. 5 days? 10 days? Half a month? Finally, Lu Li saw a dim light. He took a deep breath and rushed out with Yin Zhu. Plop! He fell to the ground. Yin Zhu looked at him with a smile and said, "Your soul is still weak. If it were 10 times stronger, you would be able to stand it." Luli rested for the time for 2 incense sticks to burn before he could recover. He found himself surrounded by barren hills. He asked, Yinzu, where are we? Yinzu thought about it and said, we should be at the Fairy Fox Dynasty, not far from the Holy Maiden sect. It will take us a dozen days to teleport there. Let's go. Luli stood up and said. Yinzu grabbed him with one hand and flew away like a sharp sword. Soon, Luli found a city nearby. It was the Fairy Fox Dynasty. Yinzu changed his looks, and Luli kept the mask on. They teleported all the way. 8 days later, they arrived at the border between the Fairy Fox Dynasty and the Holy Maiden sect. The border city. This city was the territory of a major family, the Lin family. The Lin family was an affiliated family of the Fairy Fox sect. The Fairy Fox sect and the Holy Maiden sect were on good terms. They were allies. Yinzu arrived at the Lin family. Lin family patriarch came out to greet Lu Li in person. Yinzu introduced Lu Li as his apprentice. Lu Li followed Yinzu obediently. He was only a warrior of the fifth tribulation, so he was not eye-catching. Yinzu and the Lin family patriarch were on good terms. They had gone through thick and thin together. Yinzu asked Lin family patriarch directly if Lu Li could do anything about the dragon rebel antelope and Xiang Linglong. Dragon rebel antelope? Xiang Linglong? The Lin family patriarch's complexion turned unsightly. He forced a smile and said, these two are the top beauties this time. There are at least dozens of juniors from big families eyeing them. I have a great-grandson who also likes Xiang Linglong. They are treasured by the Holy Maiden sect. If it were someone else, I could think of something. But these two, Lu Li's mind was weighed down. He could understand. Both of them were stunning beauties, and they had passed the sixth tribulation. Naturally, they were the best partners for many young masters. There's no other way. Lin family patriarch looked at Lu Li and said, it is hard enough to marry one, let alone two. Then, he can only take the first place in the Tao discussion at Huayang. A big character from the female sage sect said that whoever takes the first place can pick 3 out of the 35 beauties. If he takes the second and third place, he can pick 2. From the 4th to the 10th place, he can pick 1. The Huayang Forum can choose 3. Lu Li's eyes were filled with joy and then coldness. What did the Holy Maiden sect think these disciples were? To be treated as goods? If he didn't come, Lu Ling and Xiang Linglong would have been chosen. If they didn't want to marry, then they would have to die. Yinzu thought about it for a while and suddenly said, Lu Li, how about I get you a place? You pretend to be a descendant of an old demon? Go to the Huayang Forum first. If you fail, then we will find a chance to take them away by force. Okay, let's do it. Chapter 2763. There were still several months until the Huayang seminar, but the Saintess dynasty was already bustling with noise and excitement. Many people had arrived early. They were not necessarily here to participate in the Huayang seminar. Most of them were here to watch the fun. Under the intentional dissemination of the saintly woman sect, the information of those 35 top beauties had already been spread. These 35 beauties had even shown their faces in the saintly woman city. Some of them had also frequently attended banquets and had begun to attract bees and butterflies. They had also secretly contacted those young masters, wanting to find a good husband for themselves. The 35 beauties were all blessed by the heavens, the most perfect masterpiece. All of them were good-looking and elegant. They were charming, elegant, bright, pure, cute, and so on. They were all charming and beautiful, too beautiful to be imagined at a glance. None of the 35 were weak. The weakest among them was at the later stage of the fifth tribulation. Basically, they were at the latter stage of the fifth tribulation. They were both beautiful and powerful. Lu Ling, Xiang Linglong, and the other 2 girls were the focus of attention because they were all at the sixth tribulation. Even though the sixth tribulation was common in the endless ruins of gods, it was not easy for young people to reach it, let alone girls. Girls were weaker in cultivation. Their families had less resources. It was not easy for them to reach the peak of the fifth tribulation. To reach the sixth tribulation would put more young masters to shame. Such girls were rare in the endless ruins of gods. To be able to marry such a girl was already something to be proud of. You may not be the most outstanding, but you married the most outstanding woman. Lu Ling and Xiang Ling Long were both at the sixth tribulation. Their temperament was excellent. One was bright and the other was cold. Bright as a flower and cold as jade. What was more, their temperament was not faked. It was inherent in their bones. The two would not pretend to talk to anyone, which made more people's hearts itch. What they could not have was the best of the 18 sects. Only a few didn't come to the Huayang seminar. Those super sects sent their best disciples. Naturally, they were arrogant and looked down on average girls. Lu Ling, Xiang Ling Long, and the other two girls were their targets. They were the best in the world. Naturally, their companions should be the best girls in the world. The purpose of this Huayang sparring session was to become famous and, at the same time, to snatch the beauties. No one was willing to submit to the other. Many people had their eyes on the four of them. They all wanted to take one or even all four of them home. This time, the most popular young masters came out. There were 5 young masters: Lu Yun, Tu Ying, Wen Xiang, Hua Tiandao, and Dong Yang. These 5 people were all from one of the 18 major sects and were the most outstanding disciples of their respective sections. The 5 of them were all 6 tribulation martial artists. It was said that some of them had combat prowess that was infinitely close to a quasi-emperor. These people were among the most outstanding disciples in the sect. Naturally, they wouldn't bring shame to the sect if they were sent to participate in the battle. Dong Ying, Fuyao sect? Lu Li was stunned when he got the news. He didn't expect that Dong Yang had gone to the Fuyao sect. Moreover, he was able to show his talent in the Fuyao sect and participate in the Hua Yangdao discussion. He was up to no good. Lu Li exclaimed to himself. Dong Yang had been coveting Lu Ling and Xiang Ling Long. He must have come to the Huayang Forum for them. Lu Li went into the Lin family's martial arts hall after he read through the information on the key targets. From now on, he planned to cultivate here and familiarize himself with the use of origin energy. Origin energy was a powerful and dominating force. It was the origin energy nurtured in the Dharma realm. Origin energy could be used for defense, to enhance speed, and to enhance the power of attacks. The same fundamental principle of attack released with divine energy and origin energy would be worlds apart. Even without fundamental principle, a simple attack with origin energy could kill a warrior at the peak of the 5th tribulation martial artist in one move. Let me try my strongest attack. Lu Li stood in the martial arts hall. His eyes were filled with excitement. He had used his origin energy, but he hadn't used his strongest attack yet. He roared and released the dragon transformation. Then he mobilized some origin energy into his claws. He waved his claws and smashed at a stone pillar in the middle of the martial arts hall. Boom! That stone pillar had strong divine glyphs. But under Lu Li's attack, the divine glyphs in the stone pillar were broken and the stone pillar was crushed. This stone pillar is weak in defense. Lu Li's silver eyes flickered. He glanced over to the stone pillar next to him. With a move, he reached for another stone pillar with his claws. Boom, boom, boom. Several stone pillars were smashed. Lu Li was speechless. Those stone pillars seemed weak. Was he supposed to attack the divine glyphs on the walls of the martial arts hall? What if the divine glyphs could not stand it? The martial arts hall would be demolished. After all the stone pillars were smashed, Lu Li deactivated the dragon transformation and put on a new robe. He walked out to a Lin family chief steward and asked, "Do you have a more powerful martial arts hall? The one that can be used to test one's attack." "This is the most powerful martial arts hall of the Lin family." The manager frowned and said, "There are 10 stone pillars inside, each corresponding to a different offensive power. If you can shatter the largest stone pillar on the left, your offensive power will be comparable to a quasi-emperor's." Lu Li was surprised. Then he was delighted. So, his strongest attack could be comparable to a quasi-emperor. There shouldn't be any quasi-emperor present at the Huayang seminar, right? Then his attack power would be able to suppress everyone. Lu Li turned around and went into the martial arts hall. The chief steward took a look inside and was taken aback. All the stone pillars were broken. Was this fifth tribulation warrior so powerful? Was he a fifth tribulation warrior? An Emperor Realm warrior? Buzzing, Luli closed the door and activated the divine glyphs. The chief steward could not sense what was going on inside. The chief steward blinked, wondering if he had seen it wrong. How could a fifth tribulation warrior break the stone pillars that only quasi-emperors could? Or was there something wrong with the stone pillars? The chief steward could not figure it out. He could not find out now either. He had to wait outside for Luli to come out again. He waited for 5 months. Luli never came out again until ancestor Yin told someone from the Lin family to find Luli and prepare to go to the Holy Maiden sect. They are all broken. Luli walked out. The chief steward went in to take a look. The stone pillars were broken. The chief steward checked and was shocked. The remaining divine glyphs proved that the stone pillars were fine. Then, Luli's attack must have reached the quasi-emperor realm. Luli went to a castle where Ancestor Yin was waiting for him. Ancestor Yin handed Luli a document and said, "This is the information about your identity. It is completely true. This man has signed up as well. But according to reliable information, something happened to him on the way. I don't think he can make it. You can pretend to be him. Anyways, he is the descendant of an old demon. Nobody knows him." Phone Wooding. Chapter 2764. The Holy City of Girls was a lively place. Many taverns in the city were full, not only for the participants of the Huayang seminar, but also for the entertainment. Yin Zhu and Lu Li were teleported separately. Lu Li arrived at the Holy City of Girls by himself, and Yin Zhu came from another direction. Yin Zhu was a warrior of the Great Emperor Realm. No matter how he disguised himself, he would be discovered. If he were to stay with Luli, Luli's identity would be exposed. Luli found a random tavern and checked in. Then, he went to the official residence of the Holy City of Girls. He submitted his information. The Holy Lady sect did not mind. They only accepted Lu Li's application and gave him a jade talisman, telling him to go to the peak of Huayang in 19 days. The Huayang seminar would be held in 19 days. The peak of Huayang was one of the 11 main peaks of the Holy Lady sect. Generally speaking, outsiders could not go in. Those who were not here for the Huayang seminar were not qualified to go in. Luli went back to the tavern and asked the waiter about Lu Ling and Xiang Ling Long at once. If they were in the city right now, he could find a way to meet them and have a chat. Maybe he could find a way to take them away. The two goddesses? The waiter looked at Lu Li with a smile and said, "Young master, it is difficult for you to meet them. Many people have tried to invite them, but none of them came. I heard that young master Hua Tiandao asked patriarchs of the Holy Lady sect to come, but the two goddesses refused. If you want to meet them, you will have to go to the peak of Huayang. They will be there during the Huayang seminar." Okay, Luli nodded. He was disappointed, but it was understandable. After all, the two goddesses were so popular. They would not be in the Holy City of Girls, but at the main peak of the Holy Lady sect. The Holy City of Girls was similar to the Celestial City. It was where the Holy Lady sect came into being. Most disciples would cultivate at the main peaks. Luli tried to find out which peak the two were staying at, but the waiter shook his head. This was a secret. Not even the average disciples knew, let alone outsiders. The management of the Holy Lady sect was strict. Some main peaks were not allowed to go in. Luli could only pin his hopes on Yin Zhu. Yin Zhu said that if Huayang failed in the seminar, then he would find a chance to take it by force. Since Lu Ling and Xiang Ling Long were going to be kidnapped, they must have a clear understanding of the situation. Otherwise, they would be killed before they could even meet Lu Ling and Xiang Ling Long. Luli decided to try. He left the tavern and went to some nearby taverns. He spent some divine stones to gather information. The result disappointed him. No one knew which main peak the two of them lived in. Instead, he found out a piece of bad news. Female Saintess Gu. Previously, he had vaguely heard about the female Saintess Gu, but he did not think much about it, because at that time, he had no way to take the two of them away. Now, he had no choice but to face this problem. Even if he won the first place in the Tao discussion in Huayang and the Saintess sect married the two of them to him, it would be impossible to cure the two of them in a short time. If he and Yin Zhu took the two of them away, They might be eaten alive by the goo if they could not find a way to detoxify it in a short time. I will have to take them back to the Heaven Emperor's sect and ask the Master and other Saint Emperors to do it. Luli shook his head and put the matter aside. He went back to the tavern to cultivate and wait for the Tao discussion to begin. Soon, more than a dozen days passed. The Tao discussion in Huayang began. Luli walked out of the tavern. There was already a sea of people outside, and countless soldiers had already taken to the sky to maintain order. Late in the morning, a plump lady flew up. She shouted, "All the young masters participating in the Tao discussion in Huayang, please come up and follow me to the peak of Huayang with your jade talisman. The rest of you, please wait here. Later, our Society of Patriarchs will arrange for you to watch." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. One warrior after another flew up. They were all young masters in fancy robes. Their faces were filled with pride and confidence. Every one of them was powerful and had the demeanor of a top-notch young master. Dong Yang. Luli was taken aback. He saw a red-haired young man, unruly and wild. His wildness was unique and attractive. Luli was wearing a mask. His looks were average and his chi and energy were weak. Therefore, he had no sense of existence, and nobody paid attention to him. The group of people stood in midair. Luli followed them. Some people nearby looked at Luli strangely, wondering why he was flying up. The plump lady looked at him as well. But she said nothing when she saw the jade talisman in Luli's hand. The group of people followed the patriarch and flew to the north. There was a stretch of mountains at the north that reached the clouds. There were rivers in the mountains as well. Looking from the distance, the mountains in the distance were like swords piercing through the clouds. They flew over 2 mountains and noticed that the mountains were covered in thick white fog. Clearly, there were powerful divine patterns. After flying over 4 mountains, they landed on a huge mountain. The top of the mountain was flat with a huge plaza. The plaza had been decorated. There were stands on all sides and luxurious private rooms. Clearly, these were for distinguished guests. There were no armies in the plaza. Instead, there were valiant and heroic female disciples. All of them were wearing gorgeous dresses, holding jade swords in their hands, and solemn expressions. The more than 100 people flew down and entered an open-air pavilion. The patriarch waved his hand and said, "Young masters, please take a seat. Later, when the discussion begins, I will announce the rules." Everyone's eyes were filled with excitement. They looked around. There were at least hundreds of female disciples here, and they were all good-looking. At least, they were pleasing to the eyes. "Where are my sisters?" Luli was disappointed. He thought he could see them as soon as he came up. Since they didn't show up, did that mean they wouldn't show up later? Luli sat in the pavilion. More people came up from behind him. They were all patriarchs of different sections. Every now and then, there would be 1 or 2 emperors. Those emperors didn't stop. They went into the private rooms and activated the divine patterns. More and more people were coming. Most of them were at the Lord Realm, and some were at the 5th Tribulation. Those warriors were not treated so well. They were sitting on the grandstand. They were looking around in excitement. Occasionally, they would come over to say hello to Li's young masters. 2 hours later, tens of thousands of people had arrived at the Mount of Huayang. The 4 super-large stands were all occupied, buzzing. A rainbow-colored light shone from the north. Following that, a rainbow spread out, and beautiful women flew over in 2 rows in an orderly manner. All of them were extremely beautiful, and their auras were powerful. Many young masters' eyes glowed. They were looking for the ladies they liked. Many of them were trembling with excitement. Luli was one of them. He saw 2 stunning ladies next to a chariot in the distance. They had appeared in Luli's dreams many times. Chapter 2765. The rainbow bridge extended from the horizon, and 2 rows of female disciples floated over. Some of them were holding flutes, some were holding jade fans, some were waving ribbons, and some were holding long swords. Every single one of them was extremely beautiful and had a myriad of temperaments. The appearance of more than 30 women immediately caused the hundreds of female disciples in the surroundings to pale in comparison. The Holy Maiden sect had carefully selected and trained the beauties. Each of them was the best in the endless ruins of gods, impeccable in every aspect. 35 women were like 35 charming flowers, making people salivate. Many young people were doing the same. Some of them were staring at them, and some of them were swaying as if they were drunk. Dong Yang's eyes were burning with passion. He also stared at Lu Ling and Xiang Linglong on the two sides of the chariot. He was obsessed with the two. He would not stop until he had them. Looking at the two's delicate bodies, he wished he could rush over and hug the two in his arms, loving them. Of the 35 beauties, most people were looking at the last 4. They were all at the 6th tribulation, and they were the most beautiful as well. The 4 of them were pretty much the most outstanding young women in this world. They believed they were the best men in the world. Naturally, they would marry the best. The 4 of them were the ideal partners for many people. Compared to the other 3, Xiang Linglong was more popular. Maybe it was because she cultivated the fundamental principle of ice. She was cold to the bones, like a piece of jade in a cold pond. The harder it was to get, the more attractive it was. Xiang Linglong was too cold. She gave people a feeling that she was above the mortal world. She was like a goddess from the 9 heavens who should not appear in this filthy mortal world. This caused many men to develop a strong desire to conquer her. To be able to conquer such a woman, to be able to make such a cold woman smile for them, to be able to make such a woman melt by them, to make her writhe shyly under them, this would undoubtedly give many men a great sense of satisfaction. Lu Yun, Tu Ying, and Wen Xiang were all staring at Xiang Linglong. Clearly, they were interested in her. Hua Tiandao, on the other hand, was staring at Lu Ling. Lu Ling's bright and beautiful demeanor and the natural elegance she exuded made his heart flutter. Most people were staring at the 35 ladies. Few paid attention to the glamorous chariot. Lu Ling and Xiang Linglong were standing next to the chariot. Clearly, an important figure of the Holy Maiden sect was inside. A group of people flew over and landed on the plaza. A woman wearing a phoenix robe and a laurel crown flew out of the chariot. This woman's aura was incredibly powerful, and as she landed in the middle of the 35 women, she looked like an empress looking down on the world. The elders of the various clans on the viewing platform finally came to their senses. Their gazes landed on this beautiful woman. They couldn't tell her age, but she was probably not young anymore. However, she still had a temperament that could make people's hearts beat faster. In particular, her high and mighty demeanor of a queen made many people's hearts flutter. Greetings, movie queen. The hundreds of female disciples standing around all knelt down on one knee, holding onto their swords. Countless people on the spectator stands bowed to show their respect. Even some of the emperors sitting in the private rooms walked out and bowed slightly. The fact that the Holy Maiden sect had sent this woman indicated how much they valued the Huasang Forum. Movie Queen was of the Emperor's realm, but she was one step away from the Saint Emperor realm. She was widely recognized as the most powerful warrior. Like Lordly of the Celestial Emperor sect, she was the supervisor of the Holy Maiden sect. She was in a high position, and her name was well known in the endless ruins of divinity. Greetings, everyone! Movie Queen smiled. She was elegant and graceful, bright and beautiful. Many young people were excited. Many images came to their minds. If they could pin this movie queen on the bed, how exciting would that be? Of course, they could only think about it. They didn't dare to show it on their faces. She was a famous she-devil in the endless ruins of divinity. Countless powerful warriors had died in her hands. Once, she killed more than 10,000 people of a big family all by herself. She was known as Yuluosha. Movie Queen smiled and continued. Today is a day full of stars. More than half of the young talents of the endless ruins of divinity have gathered at the Huasang Peak to compete in martial arts and discuss about Tao so that we can make progress together. This is the honor of the Huasang Peak and also the honor of our Holy Maiden sect. The heavenly Tao is lonely and the immortal path is long. We should strive forward. This Tao discussion is only for mutual improvement. I don't want to see a tragedy of death. I hope that everyone can restrain themselves. I and the other great emperors will be watching the competition. We will give comments and guidance to all the participants. I hope that we can help you improve. In addition, the Holy Maiden sect will give a saintly elixir to those who enter the top 30. We will give 3 saintly elixir to those who enter the top 10, as well as a set of battle armor and weapons. The top 3 will be given a month of cultivation in the saintly secret realm and 3 saintly elixir. The first place will be given an emperor weapon, 1 year of cultivation in our saintly secret realm, and 10 saintly elixir. After Movie Queen finished her words, the surrounding became excited. They knew that the Holy Maiden sect would give some rewards, but they didn't expect it to be so generous. The saintly elixir was famous in the endless ruins of gods. The saintly secret realm was the most powerful one in the Holy Maiden sect. What was more, the first place would be given an emperor weapon. Lu Yun, Tu Ying, Wen Xiang, Hua Tiandao, and Dong Ying all had emperor weapons. But who would complain about not having enough? If they could win the first place, not only would they be famous, but they would also get treasures. More importantly, they could marry 3 beauties. That would be the happiest thing in the world. There were more than 170 people who signed up for the Tao discussion at Huasang. Apart from Lu Li, who seemed to be at the initial stage of the 5th tribulation, the others were at least at the later stage of the 5th tribulation. Most of them were at the peak of the 5th tribulation, and they all had their own skills. They stared at Lu Yun, Tu Ying, Wen Xiang, Hua Tiandao, and Dong Yang. The first place should be among the 5. But they didn't know who would be so lucky as to win the first place. By then, he would gain fame, wealth, and beauties. Movie Queen raised her hand and said, "Guys, I announced the official start of the Tao discussion at Huasing. Now, let the patriarch of the Holy Maiden sect announce the rules." The Shadow Queen led the 35 female disciples to another open-air pavilion. Countless gazes followed them as they moved. Lu Ling and Xiang Linglong had been following Movie Queen coldly. They didn't look to the side and didn't look at anyone. It was as if they were not interested in anyone. The more they behaved like this, the more people were interested. These young masters were so arrogant. They didn't want anything that came to them. The more they couldn't have, the more they wanted something. Luli had been staring at the 2, but they didn't show any reaction. It was because there were too many people staring at them. Naturally, they didn't care. "Sister Linglong, wait here." Chapter 2766. The rules were simple. 2 against 1. The winner would advance, and the loser would be eliminated. Opponents would be chosen randomly by drawing lots. There was no cheating. What was more, every winner would have to fight many times before they could go up. Even if they cheated once or twice, could they keep winning? There were so many powerhouses here, and none of them were blind. If they cheated, it would damage the reputation of the female holy sect. Such a big sect would not allow such a thing to happen to their reputation. After the patriarch announced the rules, the drawing of lots began. The patriarch waved his hand, and wisps of smoke appeared in the air. He said, "Each of you will absorb some smoke, and the smoke will be paired up automatically." Dong Yang and the others waved their hands at once, and each of them absorbed a wisp of smoke. Luli did the same. At the beginning, he didn't feel any pressure unless he was unlucky enough to encounter one of the 5. He was lucky. After everyone absorbed some smoke, the smoke would be paired up automatically. Luli was matched with a warrior at the peak of the 5th tribulation. When that warrior realized that he was matched with Luli, he was overjoyed. He thought he had gotten lucky and was matched with the weakest one. The location of the competition was at the center of the public square. This public square lit up with divine runes. After that, many halos of light appeared. These halos of light were very small, but each of them contained a unique little world. It was similar to that treasure from the Heaven Empyrean sect back then. There were 100 halos in total. There were only 170 people this time, so it was enough. As a matter of fact, there were more than 170 people signing up. There were more than 3,000 people. But the Holy Lady sect would not give everyone chance. Either you were powerful, or you had a powerful background. At the end of the day, the Holy Lady sect had a purpose for giving away fame, treasures, and women. They wanted to gather talents from all over the world and form a marriage alliance with the major forces. Their ultimate goal was to dominate the endless ruins. The Holy Lady sect did not want male disciples. Therefore, even if you were talented and capable, you would not be their target. Unless you were extremely talented and were destined to become a powerful warrior in the future. Or you had a powerful background that could make the two forces work together. On the surface, Luli was weak, but his disguise was not bad. The old demon behind Phone Wooding was a powerful warrior of the Emperor realm. The Holy Lady sect would respect him. Whoosh! Lu Li and his opponent entered the designated halos. As soon as Lu Li entered the halos, he felt a white glare and found himself in a strange small world. It was not a large world, only with a radius of several thousand miles. It was just enough for a fight. Buzz! A white light flashed on the opposite side. Then the peak fifth tribulation martial artist appeared on the opposite side. That person's face was flushed red. He was extremely excited and high-spirited. He looked at Lu Li and said, "I am Lu Yushan. How do you look?" Lu Li cupped his fists and said, "Phone Wooding. Brother Phone." Lu Yushan cupped his fists again and said, "You have just broken through the fifth tribulation, yet you dare to participate in the Huayang Conference of Tao. Your courage is commendable. However, you should know that you are no match for me. Since that is the case, there is no need to make a big fuss. How about we just play nicely and stop?" "Sure," Lu Li said with a smile. "Just have some fun. Young Master Lu, don't be too harsh." "Ha ha!" Lu Yushan laughed heartily with a complacent look on his face. His body floated over and waved one of his hands. Suddenly, the sky was filled with palm imprints. Those were not ordinary palm imprints. All of the palm imprints carried a black aura, which gave rise to the sound of wind and thunder. Lu Li didn't release the dragon reverse transformation, nor did he use any source of energy. He only used dragon wrestling and heaven armor. He retreated quickly, dodging the palm imprints coming at him from all sides. He was not in a hurry to win because that would attract too many people's attention. He wanted to stall for some time and win this fight with difficulty. Boom! He was hit by the palm imprints and was smashed away, but his defense was too strong. Lu Yushan didn't use any powerful attacks, so he wasn't hurt. His armor didn't even crack. "Brother Feng, your defense is good." Lu Yushan circled around Lu Li and kept releasing palm imprints, but he seemed to be at ease. Even though Lu Li's defense was good, Lu Yushan was only using average attacks. He just wanted to play with Lu Li. "Thank you, Brother Lu. Don't embarrass me." Lu Li kept dodging and said with a smile, "Let me stay a bit longer. I hope you don't embarrass me." The smile on Lu Yushan's face grew wider. One was attacking and the other was dodging. It was a lively fight, but no matter how you looked at it, it was like a game without any sense of intensity. Tens of thousands of people outside were watching the dozens arenas with psychic power. At first, some were looking at Lu Li, but soon they didn't. They were staring at other fights. The fight of the 5 people in particular had attracted many people's attention. After all, the 5 were the most popular. They were lucky that they didn't fight against each other. Otherwise, some of them would be eliminated immediately. In the outdoor pavilion, Shadow Queen and the more than 30 girls also used psychic power. Most of them were also watching the fight of the 5 people. Lu Ling and Xiangling Long were both staring at one person, Dong Yang. For them, it didn't matter whether others won or lost. Dong Yang was also from the 3rd heaven, and the 3 of them knew each other. Lu Ling and Xiangling Long actually had an extravagant hope. They hoped that Dong Yang could win and then negotiate with him in private. On the surface, they would marry him. In this way, they could at least linger on for a while. Lu Ling and Xiangling Long would not miss any hope of survival. Even though they hated Dong Yang, at least he was a real villain. As long as Dong Yang agreed to the fake marriage, he wouldn't do anything rash in the short term. Of course, the premise was that Dong Yang could win the first place. Lu Ling and Xiangling Long didn't have the right to choose who to marry. The Holy Girl sect was overbearing. If they chose not to join the inner sect, then they must follow the rules of the Holy Girl sect. Otherwise, the Holy Girl sect would execute them without mercy. Lu Ling and Xiang Linglong didn't talk to Dong Yang because if he couldn't win the first place, then he wouldn't have the right to choose them. Therefore, they were both looking at Dong Yang, expecting him to win the first place. The fight of the five ended soon. Dong Yang fought against an average warrior of the sixth heaven tribulation. He defeated the warrior with absolute power and won the fight easily. The other four did the same. Their opponents were not strong. Naturally, they didn't want to waste time. They all wanted to come out earlier to observe their opponent's abilities. In this way, the later fights would be easier. Brother Feng, I am sorry. Lu Yushan didn't want to go on, seeing that the fight had been delayed for too long. He was about to release powerful attacks when Lu Li dashed over like a ghost. A soft sword appeared in Lu Li's hand, and he released soul attacks. Lu Li's soul attacks were strong. Now that his soul attacks had been improved, the power was even stronger. How could Lu Yushan stand chance? As soon as the soul attacks were released, Lu Yushan couldn't move anymore. Boom! Lu Li rushed to Lu Yushan, took out a heavy sword, and hacked at Lu Yushan's head. Lu Li hacked for more than a dozen times. The helmet on Lu Yushan's head was cracked, and so was his head. Lu Li stopped. After a white glare, Lu Yushan was teleported out. Every fight was monitored by patriarchs of the Holy Girl sect. Lu Yushan had been utterly defeated. Lu Li had held back. Otherwise, Lu Yushan's head would have been crushed. Chapter 2767. Along with the shout of a female holy sect elder, countless gazes were attracted over. Many people's faces were filled with astonishment. The weakest among them actually won? Many people knew Lu Yushan. The Lu family was a well-known family. This Feng Wooding's great-grandfather is Feng Qinwu. It seems that Feng Wooding is not out of his mind to send Feng Wooding here. So, he is a descendant of Feng Wooding. It must be him. He must be a hidden, powerful warrior. Oh, who saw it? How'd he win? Not really. I was looking over here. Who paid attention to him? Me neither. I don't even know how he won. People on the grandstand were talking about it. After all, a weakest warrior had defeated a somewhat famous young master. This is a good topic to talk about. Xiang Linglong glanced over as well, but paid no attention. Lu Ling looked over as well. She was taken aback by what she saw. There was a glint of surprise in her eyes. What is it, Sister Ling? Xiang Linglong sensed something was wrong with Lu Ling and asked. Nothing. Lu Ling thought about it with a frown. She shook her head and looked away. Somehow, she felt this Feng Wooding was familiar, but she couldn't remember where she had seen him. She took a closer look and made sure that she had never seen him before. Then, she stopped paying attention. The other places were still fighting. Lu Li went back to his attic and sat with his legs crossed. After a while, Lu Yushan came back. His head was covered up, and only his eyes were visible. His eyes were filled with anger. He stared at Lu Li and said, Feng Wooding, you are shameless. I'll let you go. How dare you sneak up on me? Lu Li curled his lips. Was this Lu Yushan an idiot? Or is he too naive? How dare he come and accuse Lu Li? Lu Li didn't even bother to answer. He closed his eyes and ignored Lu Yushan. Lu Li's attitude enraged Lu Yushan. Lu Yushan said with killing intent, Feng Wooding, wait for your death. If I let you go back alive, I will admit that I am useless. Lu Li was speechless. He opened his eyes and said, Idiot, courting death. A long sword appeared in Lu Yushan's hand, but before he could attack, a figure flashed over, and a palm slapped the back of his head, knocking him out. An elder of the Saintist sect made a move. She waved her hand and said, Bring him to the Saintist city. Let the Lu family teach him the rules. Two female disciples flashed over and carried Lu Yushan away. Many young masters nearby, including Dong Yang and the others, also looked at Lu Yushan with disdain. This person was indeed an idiot. A loss was a loss, yet he still wanted to regain his face? What kind of place is this? Did they think this was the Lu family's territory? This small disturbance did not attract too much attention. After waiting for half an hour, all the martial art competitions were over. The losers who were injured were brought down to recuperate. Those who were not too seriously injured and chose to stay behind went to the stands. Those who were eliminated did not have the right to return to the open-air pavilion. Rest for an hour, then continue. An elder of the female holy sect walked out. Because the victors were injured, they were given an hour to heal. If they could not be healed in 2 hours, then it was their own bad luck. Who told them to be injured because they were not strong enough? Luli sat with his legs crossed and waited quietly. Soon, 2 hours passed by. The next round of matches began. It was decided by drawing lots as well. There were more than 80 people left. After this round, there were only about 40 left. Luli was still lucky this time. His opponent was at the peak of the 5th tribulation realm. He didn't fight against any warriors of the Lord Realm or Dong Yang and the other 4. Dong Yang and the other 4 didn't fight against each other either. Was it because they were lucky? Or was the female holy sect controlling them secretly? Maybe they wanted all 5 to make it to the top 10? Then there would be a fierce fight? Luli did not know. He was happy that he could fight against a warrior at the peak of the 5th tribulation realm. After all, he could win easily, and he didn't have to reveal too much of his strength or consume too much energy. He went into the arena, and so did his opponent. It was a handsome young master, not much older than Lu Li. This young master was solemn when he came in. He didn't look down on Lu Li just because he was not strong. Lu Li's victory over Lu Yushan made many people put their guards up against him. After all, Lu Yushan was at the peak of the 5th tribulation realm. Lu Li was unharmed, while Lu Yushan was seriously injured. This in itself spoke volumes. Lu Li's fight had attracted many people. Many wanted to see what tricks Lu Li had up his sleeve. How did he defeat Lu Yushan? Lu Ling was one of them. Xiang Linglong was still staring at Dong Yang while Lu Ling looked over. She felt Lu Li was like someone, but she couldn't remember who. Therefore, when Lu Li started the fight, she looked over out of instinct and locked onto Lu Li with psychic power. Lu Li made his move. He rushed over like a cheetah. A soft sword appeared in his hand, and he charged forward with indomitable spirit. His flexible sword lit up, glistening with divine light, as if he was preparing some kind of super killing move. The young master was nervous. He stared at Lu Li with caution. A shield appeared in one hand, and a short sword appeared in the other. The same short sword glowed. He was ready to find a chance to fight back after he blocked Lu Li's attack. When Lu Li was more than 1,000 feet away from the young master, he knew he had won. This young master couldn't be from super force. He didn't have an 8th or 9th rank enchanted soul to survive Lu Li's soul attack. Buzzing, Lu Li shook his soft sword, and an invisible ripple spread out. Before the young master could react, he was hit. He felt like there were hundreds of millions of soul needles stabbing into his soul. At that moment, he felt his soul was going to explode. Boom! Lu Li took out his heavy sword with his other hand. He didn't use any killing move. He just smashed at the young master with strength. That young master was completely immersed in his soul, fearing that his soul would collapse. How could he care about Lu Li? Boom, boom, boom. Lu Li smashed at the young master's helmet for more than 100 times. Needless to say, the young master was teleported out and eliminated. Soul attack. The descendant of Old Devil Feng is using soul attack. He is a powerful warrior of soul. I didn't expect this. His realm concealed his true combat power. He is actually a soul expert, and a very powerful one at that. Old Devil Feng is not good at soul attacks. How come he has a descendant that knows such powerful soul attacks? There were many lords on the stands. They were all sharp-eyed. They could see through Lu Li's killing move at once. Noises of discussion rose on the stands. Many patriarchs and disciples of the Holy Maiden sect were talking about this dark horse that came out of nowhere. This man, Lu Ling's eyes glowed as she saw Lu Li's soul attack. She murmured to herself. Then, she seemed to be confused. Xiang Linglong looked at Lu Li in surprise. She didn't notice anything. She asked with curiosity, "Sister Ling, what is it? Do you like him?" Lu Ling shook her head. She replied after some thoughts, "That man looks like him. His mode of attack is similar as well. Is he in disguise?" "Him? Who is he?" Xiang Linglong frowned. Then, she came to her senses and replied, "Sister Ling, you mean Lu Li?" With that said, Exquisite Xiang glanced over to Lu Li in a flash. Lu Li had just been teleported out. Out of instinct, he looked over to Lu Ling and Xiang Linglong. Coincidentally, he made eye contact with Xiang Linglong. Boom! Xiang Linglong felt a tremor in her soul. She was trembling. Her cheeks blushed. She lowered her head at once in case someone would notice something was wrong. Chapter 2768. Women were sentimental. No matter how cold and arrogant they appeared to be, if they were powerful, they would have some emotions in their bones. Most of them would be fragile and yearn for a strong man to stand behind them, to protect them and shelter them from the wind and rain. That was what Linglong was experiencing. She was strong, and she was even ready to die. At the Holy Maiden sect, she never showed weakness, fear, or panic. She had always been cold, and she would even joke with Lu Ling occasionally. But at this moment, she felt like she was about to burst into tears. If it were not for the fact that she was afraid of being seen through, she would have burst into tears. If it were possible, she would have thrown herself into Lu Li's arms. It had been some time since she separated from Lu Li. She did not count on Lu Li this time, nor did she expect him to come. After all, the Celestial Emperor's sect was too far away. The Celestial Emperor's sect did not come to the Huayang seminar. How could Lu Li come alone? Also, Lu Li was not powerful enough. What could he do even if he came? Therefore, from the very beginning, Linglong never thought about Lu Li or counted on him. She had pinned her only hope on Dong Yang. She did not expect that Lu Li would come. Moreover, he had come with a different identity. This pleasant surprise made Exquisite Long unable to contain her joy. She was extremely moved. Linglong used to have feelings for Lu Li. But because of her family and because Lu Li had many wives, she chose to cut ties with him. Later, they went to blow up the altar in the Abyss of Demons. They came to the Abyss together, but soon they were separated. Over the years, her own safety was not guaranteed. Therefore, Linglong never gave it much thought. She would only ask about Lu Li every now and then. She sealed her heart and stopped thinking about love. Until this moment. At this critical moment, when she was most helpless, Lu Li showed up again. The two of them looked at each other not far away from each other. At that moment, Xiang Linglong felt that time and space had frozen. She remembered that in the small world of savages, Lu Li took them out. In the heaven realm, Lu Li descended from the sky to save her and Chi Ding Dong. She remembered that at the northern plains, they fought together and killed warriors from the Abyss of Demons. She lowered her gaze and forcefully suppressed her trembling body. Her entire heart was occupied by that imposing figure. And at this moment, the entire world had disappeared. She had thought that she had completely cut off her feelings for Lu Li, but now she realized that she was wrong. At that moment, she felt her love for Lu Li was even stronger. She suddenly made up her mind. If she could survive this time, she would do whatever it took. She didn't care if it was the Xiang family or if Lu Li had a wife or not. She didn't care about anything as long as Lu Li wanted her and loved her. Then she would stay with Lu Li at all costs until the end of time. It really is him. Lu Ling smiled as well. She felt Lu Li looked familiar to her. At this moment, she finally understood that it was not that Lu Li looked familiar. It was just that Lu Li gave her a strange feeling, as if Lu Li was a family member. It was because of this feeling that she found Lu Li familiar. Lu Li had come to the Huayang Forum in disguise. What was his purpose? Did he want to fight his way into the top few? Marry one of them? Or was he trying to find a chance to run away with the two? Lu Ling began to analyze. Soon her mind cooled down. She realized that no matter what Lu Li wanted to do, he would not succeed. This was the Holy Maiden sect where there were many powerful warriors, including many at the Emperor realm and 2 at the Saint King realm. Lu Li wanted to save the 2. That was a pipe dream. He wanted to win the number 1 and marry the 2. That was unlikely. Lu Li was somewhat famous now, but it was not possible for him to improve so quickly. It was already incredible that he could defeat warriors at the middle stage of the Lord realm. Those 5 might be as powerful as Emperor realm warriors. No matter how many of Lu Li's warriors there were, they wouldn't be able to defeat them. Exquisite was lost in her romantic fantasy. Lu Ling on the other hand, was analyzing the situation rationally. She wondered if she should find a chance to meet Lu Li. She asked him not to do anything stupid or act rashly. Lu Li made it to the next round without any hesitation. He went back to the outdoor pavilion. This time, he was the center of attention. He didn't mind at all. He used psychic power to check on Dong Ying and the other four and began to watch the fight leisurely. He didn't look at Exquisite and Lu Ling again, fearing that someone might see through him. If his identity was exposed, then he would have no other choice but to take them by force. This time, the fight was more intense. Many were fighting with all their might. Nobody dared to give in. Several teams were seriously injured, but they didn't admit defeat. They were ready to fight till the end. Patriarchs of the Holy Maiden sect were nervous. They looked around. If someone was about to die, they would take action at once to save the person. This time, the master of the Holy Maiden sect said that no one could die. This was a marriage alliance, a happy event. She didn't want it to turn into a tragedy. Dong Yang and Hua Tiandao were not surprised. All of them made it to the next round. Only one of them was slightly injured. The other four were unharmed. They made it to the next round easily. More people made it to the next round. This time, more were injured. Many were evenly matched. Both sides were fighting with their lives on the line. Even if someone could win, it would be a Pyrrhic victory. After more than 2 hours, all the fights came to an end. More than 40 people made it to the next round. A patriarch of the Holy Maiden sect announced that the fights would be stopped for a day and then the next round. Later, the top 30 would be selected directly. The next round could be regarded as the semifinals. There was only 1 day of rest. Many people seized the time to heal and recover. Fortunately, the female sage sect was very polite this time. They distributed the female sage sect's exclusive healing pills to the injured people. It was estimated that some people could barely recover. Lu Li was not injured, and he didn't wander around. Unlike some young masters who started to flirt with disciples of the Holy Maiden sect, Lu Li went to closed-door cultivation. 1 day was just a blink for him. Even though Lu Ling wanted to talk to Lu Li, how could she stay with Lu Li under the watchful eyes of so many people? There was a shadow queen sitting next to her. If she were to send a secret message, she might be discovered. Exquisite Xiang was even more afraid to act rashly, for fear that she might disrupt Lu Li's plan and that he might be discovered. Lu Li came in the guise of someone else, which meant that his real identity could not be exposed. Naturally, Exquisite Xiang would not interfere with Lu Li's plan. Soon, the day passed. The fights began again. This time, they would draw lots, but not all of them would be eliminated. There were more than 40 people in total. Only about 20 could win. Those who were eliminated would fight again to make up the 30. **T. Chapter 2769. When Xiang was a disciple of one of the 18 sects, the Luo Water sect. He was one of the most outstanding disciples of the younger generation, and he was ranked on the Ascension rankings. He was quite famous, and he had been called a genius ever since he was born. The One family was one of the core families of the Luo Water sect. When Xiang had 4 progenitor warriors who were all at the Emperor realm, and one of them was very close to the Saint Emperor realm. In the Luo Water sect, when Xiang enjoyed a similar status as Shadow Queenly. But that was nothing. What was more, in the history of the Wen family, there was a Saint Emperor, a descendant of a Saint Emperor. That was a great honor. It was an indication that the Wen family was truly a big family. It used to be a big family, and now it was one of the most powerful in the endless ruins of gods. As one of the young talents of the Wen family, Wen Xiang would not be a disgrace to the Wen family since he was sent out. Wen Xiang was strong indeed. What was more commendable was that he was young, about the same age as Lu Li. Many people said that his attacks were comparable to the later stage of the Sixth Tribulation Realm, but his speed and defense were no different from an Emperor Realm warrior. He had to be strong because he had a sovereign weapon armor, and his enchanted soul was of the 9th rank. It would be hard for him to be weak. If one wanted to break through an Imperial Armament's battle armor, one would need to be an extremely powerful quasi-emperor at the very least. Wen Xiang was highly regarded as the one most likely to win first place. But Lu Li was going against him. Lu Li was troubled. Was he going to use his origin energy now? If he used his origin power now, wouldn't it cause a lot of problems? Would he be noticed by others in advance, and his identity would be investigated? After all, a fifth tribulation realm warrior with origin energy was shocking news that could be spread out. By then, the Heaven Emperor sect would be alerted, and the Heaven Emperor sect would know. We are in big trouble. Lu Ling and Xiang Ling Long pretended not to pay attention to Lu Li, but they had been. They were worried when they saw Lu Li fighting against Wen Xiang. How could Lu Li defeat Wen Xiang? Lu Li's abilities could not have improved so much in just a couple of years. Lu Li was doomed. All participants, please come into the ring. A patriarch of the Holy Lady sect said. Lu Li came back to his senses. Wen Xiang had gone in, but Lu Li was still in a daze. Let's go. Lu Li flew up and dashed into the arena in a white glare. Countless gazes locked onto the two of them. They wanted to see how this dark horse that had suddenly appeared would resist Wen Xiang's powerful attack. If Lu Li could defeat Wen Xiang, then he would be a real dark horse. He might even have a chance of winning first place. At this moment, more than half of the tens of thousands of people were paying attention to the fight between Lu Li and Wen Xiang. There was almost no suspense in the fight between Hua Tiandao and Dong Yang. None of their opponents were strong, so the fight here was more interesting. The Shadow Queen was also looking over. She wanted to see how Lu Li, the Black Horse, would fight against the most outstanding genius of the Wen family. A soul expert? Would his soul attack be able to break Wen Xiang's 9th grade demon soul? After Lu Li came in, Wen Xiang put on a gentle smile. He cupped his fists and said, "Brother Feng, I am Wen Xiang." Wen Xiang was very handsome. He didn't have the delicateness of a pretty boy. Instead, he had a very masculine aura. At the moment, he was elegant and his smile was sincere, which made people feel good about him. A disciple of a super family, a talented young man in the endless ruins of divinity, but he didn't have the arrogance of a disciple of a family. He was so humble and polite. People couldn't help but exclaim how excellent he was. A dragon among men, Lu Li exclaimed as well. He cupped his fists in return and said with a smile, "Brother Wen, I have heard of your name for a long time. Today, I finally have the chance to talk to you face to face. I am honored. Young Master Wen, you are worthy of your reputation. You are admirable. Brother Feng, you are too kind." Wen Xiang bowed again and said, "Brother Feng, the sect sent me here in the hope that I will try my best to get a better ranking and not let down the prestige of the sect. So, I will try my best in the fight. Brother Feng, please don't hold back. We will fight with all we have." "Ha ha ha." Lu Li laughed and replied, "Brother Wen, you are such a nice person. I want a friend like you. Since we have become friends, I shall give you a big gift. I admit defeat in this martial arts competition." Admit defeat? Many people were checking on Lu Li and Wen Xiang with psychic power. They could hear their conversation. Lu Li's words caused an uproar. The fight hadn't even started yet, and Lu Li had already admitted defeat? Shoo. Just admit it. Why are you still acting like a hero? And he even gave her a big gift? Shameless. Feng Wooding is so pretentious. He knows that he's going to lose, and he is still pretending to be a saint? I have never seen such a hypocrite. PFF, shameless. Boos and curses were heard all around. Everyone was saying that Lu Li was shameless and despised his character. Many people were looking forward to this fight. Why did Lu Li suddenly give up? This made many people extremely depressed. Disciples and patriarchs of the Holy Maiden sect were speechless as well. One patriarch asked Lu Li, "Are you sure you want to admit defeat?" "Ha ha ha." Lu Li laughed and said, "A man is a man of his words. Brother Wen and I hit it off at first sight. Since he is so particular, of course, I will return the favor. I admit defeat." Brother Feng. Wen Xiang cupped his fist in embarrassment and said, "You don't have to do this. You don't have to." Wen Xiang wanted to say that Lu Li didn't have to do this. He didn't want Lu Li to do this either, but he had to. "I admit defeat." Lu Li shouted again in a determined tone. A patriarch of the Holy Maiden sect looked at Shadow Queen. She didn't say anything. The patriarch teleported them out and announced at the same time, "Wen Xiang wins. He will advance to the next round." Smart. Lu Ling was impressed. Since Lu Li was no match for Wen Xiang, why did he fight? Admitting defeat could save his strength, but it didn't mean that he was eliminated. There were only over 40 people in total, and only 20 could advance. The rest of the eliminated ones would have to fight on until the top 30 were selected for the semifinals. Lu Li was saving his strength. Many of the eliminated warriors might be injured. It was more likely that Lu Li could advance. What was more, Wen Xiang was said to be a real gentleman. Whether he was a real gentleman or a hypocrite, he had been maintaining this image. Next time he fought Wen Xiang, Lu Li could have the upper hand. Lu Li cupped his fist to Wen Xiang and then walked back to the outdoor pavilion leisurely. It was not that he couldn't beat Wen Xiang. He had some confidence that he could. It was just that he didn't want to reveal his full strength now. Lu Ling was right. He wouldn't be eliminated directly. As long as he didn't have to fight against the 5, he was 100% sure that he could win. He would make it to the top 30 anyway. Why should he care about the outcome of this fight? As for his reputation, he didn't care. He was not a person of this world. He would leave this world eventually. What was the use of reputation? The fights on the other battlefields were fierce. Several people were seriously injured. Making it to the top 30 would not only gain reputation, but also the pellet of the Holy Maiden. There were 35 beauties. Basically, they were prepared for the top 30. Chapter 2770. 4 hours later, the fights came to an end. Hua Tiandao, Dong Yang, and the other 3 had made it to the next round. So did some lords. But there were only 22 teams. 8 warriors had to be selected. 8 of the 22 had to be selected. This time, there was no need to fight several rounds. The first winner would be the first to make it to the next round. Moreover, the rest time was not long, only 6 hours. The Holy Ladies sect didn't care how badly injured you were. Who asked you to be injured? Lu Li's advantage was clear. He was not injured at all. He didn't even consume any energy. He had been conserving his strength. Many people suddenly understood. Maybe Lu Li was trying to preserve his strength by admitting defeat. Treacherous and hypocritical. Many people had a bad impression of Lu Li. Some patriarchs of the Holy Ladies sect even looked down on him. But rules were rules. The Holy Ladies sect was a big sect. They wouldn't go so far as to cheat. Lu Li found out his opponent was a warrior at the peak of the 5th tribulation and a badly injured one at that. He couldn't help but want to laugh out loud. This fight was so easy. 6 hours later, the patriarch of the Holy Ladies sect announced that the fight would continue. Many people hadn't recovered from their injuries. Lu Li's opponent was only half healed. Some broken ribs hadn't been healed yet. He was upset. Lu Li went into the stage, and that warrior followed him in. He cupped his fists and said, "Brother Feng, can you help me win this fight? You can name your terms. This fight is very important to me." Lu Li rolled his eyes speechlessly. He dashed forward like a mad dragon. Seeing Lu Li's attitude, that warrior stepped back and said again, "Brother Feng, if you can help me this time, I can give you 1 trillion divine stones and 100 top-level herbs. What do you say?" "Nothing," Lu Li replied. He had already dashed forward. He waved his soft sword and said, "I am sorry, brother, but I must win this fight." Waves of soul attacks spread out. That warrior was hit at once. He seemed to be in pain. He was still stepping back, but at a slow pace. After several attacks, that warrior was immobilized. He didn't even have the time to defend against soul attacks. He yelled, "Stop! I give up." The soul attacks were so fierce. If Lu Li were to use physical attacks, his head would be cracked and he would suffer in vain. The patriarchs of the Holy Ladies sect had no choice but to send the warrior out. Then they glared at Lu Li and announced, "Feng Wooding has advanced." Wow, many people started booing. Wasn't Lu Li winning too easily? The others had risked their lives to advance to the next level. Lu Li, on the other hand, had just lost a round and now he had advanced to the next level. Nice! Lu Ling and Xiang Linglong looked at each other and exclaimed to themselves. Neither of them could tell how far Lu Li could go, but they would be delighted every time he made a step forward. If Lu Li could win first place and marry the two of them, then everything would be perfect. If Lu Li is the champion, I can marry him. Even if the sect can't cure the Saintess anytime soon, I can be with him and find a way home together. 100 years later, when the sect can cure the saintus and we can find our way back, how wonderful it will be. Xiang Linglong was intoxicated by the thought. She was not a girl who fell in love easily. Once she made up her mind about something, she would be more devoted to it than others. In her eyes, the only thing left in her world was the man she loved. She wouldn't hesitate even if she had to die for him. Lu Li swaggered back to the outdoor pavilion. Many people looked at him with disdain and shame. When Xiang wanted to come over and greet Lu Li, but he forced himself not to do so. He didn't want Lu Li to give way to him, but Lu Li had taken advantage of him. This inevitably made Wen Xiang a little uncomfortable and awkward. The rest of the fights became more intense. Lu Li had won, which meant there were only 7 places left. The Holy Ladies sect didn't care how powerful a warrior was. They only cared about the result. Whoever could win earlier would be able to advance to the top 30. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Footsteps came from Lu Li's side. A man was walking towards him. Lu Li raised his eyebrows and glanced over. His heart suddenly tightened. Dong Yang was walking towards him. Did he see something? Lu Li soon calmed down. His eyes were filled with unruly, evil, and awe-inspiring light. His temperament was quite different from before. He looked up and made eye contact with Dong Yang. Dong Yang stopped. There was a trace of hesitation on his face. Eventually, he walked over, cupped his fists, and said, "Brother Feng, I am Dong Yang. Congratulations on making it to the next round." "Ah ha ha, me too." Lu Li laughed out loud. He looked arrogant. He stood up, cupped his fists, and said in a heroic manner, "I just admire Brother Wen's character. Otherwise, I would have made it to the next round. I wouldn't have to fight the second round." Lu Li deliberately changed his voice, making it more shrill. As soon as he finished his words, many people looked at him. Many people didn't even try to hide the mockery and disgust in their eyes. It was as disgusting as if they had swallowed a fly. Wen Xiang shook his head with a smile. He didn't even look at Lu Li. At first, he was a bit embarrassed. Now he was speechless. He had seen shameless people, but never one like Lu Li. The surprise in Dong Yang's eyes grew stronger. Just now, Lu Li's soul attack and his movements reminded him of Lu Li himself. But now, seeing Lu Li's behavior, Dong Yang could not help but hesitate. Lu Li was not like this before. At least, he wouldn't be so disgusting. How could he be so arrogant without power? Was this man an idiot? Dong Yang thought about it and asked, "Brother Feng, I think you look familiar. Have we met before?" While he was asking, Dong Yang stared into Lu Li's eyes, trying to see if there would be any change in Lu Li's eyes. If Lu Li was flustered, then there would be some changes in his eyes. Eyes could not lie. However, Lu Li disappointed him. Lu Li's eyes were filled with excitement. He said with joy, "Really? I also think Brother Dong Yang looks familiar. Can it be that we are heroes who appreciate each other?" "Ha, ha, ha. Brother Dong Yang, when the Huayang seminar is over, we must have a drink. How about we become sworn brothers with Brother Wen, so that we can share life and death, trials and tribulations?" When Xiang rolled his eyes, he was so angry that his body was trembling slightly. He simply turned his body away to show his dissatisfaction. A trace of embarrassment appeared on Dong Yang's face. He smiled embarrassedly and said, well said, well said. Let's see." With that said, Dong Yang cupped his fists and left, paying no more attention to Lu Li. Several others stood up and walked to other places as well. It seemed that they didn't want to be too close to Lu Li in case they were disgusted. "You are Feng Wooding, right?" A cold-looking young man suddenly said. He stared at Lu Li and said, "I am Hua Tiandao. I hate you. You better pray that you don't run into me. Otherwise, I will teach you a lesson on how to behave on behalf of Demon Feng." Chapter 2771. After more than 2 hours, the fights were over and the top 30 were decided. Even though there were still some who hadn't come out, the Patriarch of the Holy Lady sect asked the rest to stop fighting as soon as the top 30 were decided. The rest were upset. Only those who made it to the top 30 would be praised and remembered by the world. If they couldn't make it to the top 30, they would have no chance to come to the seminar. If they were eliminated at the beginning, they wouldn't think so much. But they were so close, which made them feel sorry. The female sage sect was very straightforward and immediately gave the first 30 female sage pellets. This pellet had the same effect as the Guan family's crossing tribulation pellet. It was also specially used for crossing tribulation and was a bit stronger than the crossing tribulation pellet. This pill was extremely valuable, and there was no market for it. It was not something that could be bought with divine stones. Usually, the pellets of the Holy Lady sect would not be circulated around, and they wouldn't be sold. Naturally, they were priceless. Luli took the pellets in delight. The patriarch of the Holy Lady sect announced a temporary suspension of the fights. The semifinals would be held in 15 days. This was to give everyone a good time to rest, so that they could be at the peak of their condition, so that they could perform their best. Everyone flew toward the holy city of Lady. Lu Li and the other 20 warriors were left at the Mount of Huayang. The 30 of them were treated as honored guests of the Holy Lady sect. The Holy Lady sect was trying to win them over. The Mount Huayang was large with many castles. The 30 were arranged to live in different castles. Since some of the 30 were seriously injured, the Holy Lady sect didn't hold a banquet right away. They were told to rest for a couple of days. 5 days later, the Shadow Queen would host a banquet in person. A large-scale banquet wasn't held, but a small-scale one was held that night. Hua Tiandao, Dong Yang, and Wen Xiang became highly sought after and received many invitations. The 35 girls all knew that they had to get married. If so, why don't they choose someone they liked? If they could marry Hua Tiandao, Dong Yang, and Wen Xiang, then it would be worthwhile. As a matter of fact, many girls wanted to marry them. After all, they were some of the best talents in the Endless Ruins. Who else should they marry if they didn't marry such excellent men? Lu Li accepted the invitation. It was not Lu Ling or Xiang Linglong who invited him, but the other 2 girls. They were the weaker ones among the 35. Lu Li understood that it was rational of Lu Ling and Xiang Linglong not to invite him. Otherwise, everyone would have their eyes on him. Although he was very unwilling, he had no choice but to attend this banquet. Otherwise, it would not fit his current persona. Moreover, during the banquet, he also revealed a very lustful appearance. His lustful appearance made the 2 beauties who invited him to the banquet somewhat regret it. Fortunately, this was the Huayang Peak after all, so Lu Li did not do anything to them. But his eyes made the 2 beauties' hair stand on end, as if Lu Li wanted to skin them alive. After this, nobody invited Lu Li anymore. Clearly, the 2 beauties had spread the word about Lu Li's way of doing things. Lu Ling and Xiang Linglong were informed as well. They smiled. Lu Li was good at making fun of himself. If they were not sure that it was Lu Li, they wouldn't have thought it was him. When Xiang, Hua Tiandao, and the others were very popular. Almost every night, they would be invited to dinner. Lu Li's place was quiet, which he liked. He hated boring parties like this. Soon, 5 days had passed. The banquet hosted by the movie queen had begun. This time, Lu Li had to attend. He was dressed in a gorgeous robe, and his hair was combed until it shone brightly. He looked very imposing. In the banquet hall, there were many female disciples walking back and forth. It made people feel like they had fallen into a sea of flowers. The movie queen hadn't arrived yet, but the other 35 beauties had. Lu Ling and Xiang Linglong were sitting together. One was in a white dress and the other in a yellow one. One was bright and the other was elegant. They outshone the other beauties. The seating of the banquet was well designed. There were 35 ladies. 5 of them were sitting at the head of the table with the movie queen sitting behind. The other 30 were sitting in a row. The 30 young masters were sitting in a row. In this way, the young masters were sitting face to face with the 30 ladies on the opposite side. The young masters could enjoy the beauties, and the beauties could enjoy the young masters' charms. Lu Li's seat was the 23rd. It was arranged according to the number of fights he won. Nobody could say anything about it. Lu Li kept greeting the young masters in a flamboyant manner. Many of them said hello to Lu Li reluctantly, but more just brushed him off indifferently. They didn't show much respect. Just like before, Lu Li glanced over the young masters. He would glance at Lu Ling and Xiang Linglong from time to time, which made Xiang Linglong feel speechless and jealous. Lu Ling found it both funny and annoying. She watched Lu Li's antics with interest. After a while, the movie queen arrived. The banquet reached its climax as well. The 35 ladies went down to perform. Someone performed a sword dance, someone played the flute, someone plucked the strings of the zither, and someone danced. Fine wine, beautiful ladies, and a famous powerful warrior of the endless ruins of God were sitting on the side. Many young masters felt like they were walking on air. What more could they ask for in this life? Many young masters also took advantage of the fact that they were drunk to perform. They released all kinds of strange skills to liven things up. They were also trying to show off and attract the attention of the top beauties. Luli didn't go up. He didn't want to attract the attention of the other young masters. Nobody was paying attention to him now. Many of them even showed their disgust towards him. Wherever Lu Li's gaze swept across, many of the family members immediately looked away. The banquet lasted until midnight. The guests were ready to leave. When Lu Li was about to leave, the movie queen suddenly waved at him. Lu Li's heart skipped a beat. Lu Ling and Xiang Linglong's hearts were weighed down as well. The movie queen wanted to see Lu Li. Did she know Lu Li's identity? Or did she know the relationship between Lu Li, Lu Ling, and Xiang Linglong? Either way, it was not a good thing. The thing was, what could Lu Ling and the others do? What could Lu Li do? Could the three of them attack the movie queen together? What was the difference between that and suicide? Some young masters were surprised as well. Many were surprised, but they didn't dare to ask any questions. They all left. Lu Li was nervous, but he had to pretend to be excited. When everyone left, Xiang Linglong and the others left as well. Only Lu Li and the movie queen were left. The movie queen stared at Lu Li with a smile without saying anything, which made Lu Li's hair stand on end. After a while, the movie queen said, "Wu Ding, you look pretty in person. Why do you have to wear a mask? Aren't you tired?" Lu Li had thought about this before. Even though the mask he was wearing was advanced, it could still be seen through by Emperor Realm warriors. He cupped his fists and said with a bitter smile, "Movie queen, I once offended some people. They don't know who I am, but they know my face. So haha. You and your great-grandpa are carved from the same mold." The movie queen recalled and exclaimed, "Back in the day, your great-grandpa was also unruly and unruly. He was evil and not afraid of the gods. During those years, he challenged dozens of forces on his own. In the end, he survived and became an overlord. He was a legend." Yes, yes. Chapter 2772. Shadow Queen and Lu Li chatted for a while. Their conversation was filled with admiration for Feng Wooding. It seemed that they had some unresolved, ill-fated relationship. Unfortunately, old ancestor Feng Wooding didn't like the female sage sect, and the Shadow Empress was also the mainstay of the female sage sect, so the two of them didn't get together in the end. After chatting for a while, Lu Li went back. In the end, the movie queen encouraged Lu Li to fight hard and get a better ranking. If Lu Li wanted to marry someone, she could be his matchmaker. Back then, Shadow Queen didn't marry Feng Wooding's forefather. Now, she seemed to regard Lu Li as her junior. She would help Lu Li as long as it was not against her principles. Lu Li didn't expect to receive such a pleasant surprise from a fake identity. He thanked her profusely and shed tears of gratitude. He even revealed the manner of treating the movie empress as his great-grandmother. He himself was somewhat immersed in his role. After returning to the castle, he went into secluded cultivation and continued to accumulate origin energy. Who knew what would happen next? The more origin energy he accumulated, the better. Later on, someone invited him to a banquet again. Perhaps it was the movie queen who summoned him alone, which made some women look at him in a different light. Another 4 ladies invited him to dinner, but Lu Li did not meet any of them because he was in closed-door cultivation. Time passed quickly, and half a month later, the semifinals began. Tens of thousands of spectators came early. The previous matches were just appetizers, and now, the real fierce battles were about to begin. This time, the female sage sect didn't only have a Shadow Empress, but they also had 4 Emperor-ranked experts. This showed how much importance the female sage sect attached to this competition. This time, the rules had changed. It was no longer a duel, but it wasn't a chaotic battle like the one in the Heavenly Emperor's sect. 3 people in a group. Lots were drawn to form a group of 3. Only one of the 3 could win and advance to the top 10. There was no shortcut in this kind of battle, because the 2 weaker people would usually team up. You had to use your combat power and strategy to suppress the 2 in order to advance. There was also an element of luck in this. If all 3 of them were strong, that would be a tragedy for 2 of them. They were stronger than the others, but they couldn't advance to the top 10. Everyone was secretly praying that they wouldn't encounter an opponent that was too strong, but Luli pursed his lips and didn't do anything. Because after he knew the rules, he suddenly had a feeling that the drawing of lots should be controlled by someone. What was the purpose of the Saintist sect holding the Hua Yongdao discussion? Naturally, it was for the sake of marrying off their precious disciple to the most outstanding young master and the most powerful young master. If the outstanding disciple of her family were to marry the young master of a small power, to marry a weakling, then what was the point of holding this martial arts competition? It was a fruitless effort. If resources and women were given away for free, many young masters of powerful factions would feel resentful. Therefore, although they wouldn't openly cheat, they had to secretly help the powerful young masters advance. Anyway, they weren't cheating in public. So what if someone guessed it? Who would say anything? Wasn't it normal for those powerful young masters to get a good ranking? The drawing of lots began. Luli didn't even look at the wisps of smoke. He grabbed at them and waited quietly. If the Holy Lady sect wanted to mess with him, then he would be in the same group as one of the 5. If the movie queen took care of him, he might end up with 2 martial artists who weren't that strong. Mwah! The result of the drawing of lots came out very quickly, and there was an uproar all around. Luli glanced over. It was just as he had expected. The 5 weren't in the same group. All of them were separated. The movie queen had taken care of him, so he wasn't in the same group as the 5. But there was one at the middle stage of the 6th tribulation and one at the initial stage in his group. On the surface, he seemed to be the weakest. How can it be so coincidental? Right? None of the 5 are in the same group. Is it on purpose, or is it really that good luck? Yes, I want to see 2 tigers fighting against each other. I didn't know that the 5 were separated. Is the Holy Lady sect secretly controlling them? From the stands came people's discussions. Even if there were 2 powerful warriors in the same group, there wouldn't be so many doubts. But now, there was no reason for people to doubt. That being said, the Holy Lady sect turned a deaf ear to the discussions. Some people at the martial arts competition had opinions as well, but nobody dared to express them. If they angered the Holy Lady sect, they wouldn't be able to reason with them if they were disqualified. Whether people had opinions or not, the martial art competition went on as usual. Luli was relieved. For him, the 2 warriors weren't so stressful. He had a good chance of winning. All the groups went in. The discussions on the stands died down. As a matter of fact, the rules were set by the Holy Lady sect. Even if the Holy Lady sect were to force it, who could say anything? After all, they were here to enjoy the show. The 5 powerful warriors would fight for the top 5. The fights would be more intense. Eventually, they would enjoy it. After Luli went in, he went to a corner and looked at the other 2 nervously. The other 2 separated after they came in as well. They looked at each other with caution. As Luli had expected, the warrior at the initial stage of the 6th tribulation sent a message to him at once. Brother Feng, I am Xian Wei from the Xian family of the Rainwater sect. Our opponent is Tianjun. He is too strong. We must work together or we will all be eliminated. If we work together, at least we will have a chance. What do you say? Sure, Luli replied without any hesitation. Brother Xian, you attack from the front and I will work from the side. Let's defeat Tianjun first, and then we will decide the winner. At that moment, Tianjun sent a message as well. Brother Feng, how about we work together? As long as you can help me win this fight, you can name whatever you want. Luli was in high demand. There was no other way. Tianjun and Xian Wei could not work together because Xian Wei knew he was no match for Tianjun. Therefore, he had to work with Luli. Luli did not respond to Tianjun. After he and Xian Wei worked together, they didn't bother to deceive Tianjun anymore. As long as they could defeat Tianjin first, the rest would be easy. Charge! Xianwei bellowed and dashed toward Tianjin first. He knew that Lu Li would not be at the front. If Xianwei was not the main attacker, Lu Li would not attack either. In that case, Tianjin would defeat them one by one. Tianjin sent a message to Lu Li. Realizing that his words had gone unheeded, Tianjin knew that Lu Li and Lu Li had worked together. He knew that there was nothing he could say. He had to fight till the end. A golden armor appeared over Tianjin's body. He held a golden halberd in one hand. He was strong to begin with. At the moment, he looked like a god of war. Xianwei's image was lacking in all aspects. He was short and had a wretched look. His weapon of choice was the double crooked sword. He bent his body and dashed forward. It was a wretched look. A black armor appeared over Xianwei's body as well. Clearly, it was not an average armor. He wielded the double crooked sword and began to generate a strange skill. The ground began to tremble. Following that, many earth-drilling rats made of mud emerged. As soon as the earth-drilling rats were formed, they burrowed into the ground and disappeared. What kind of skill is that? Seeing that Xianwei had generated hundreds of earth-drilling rats, Lu Li could not figure out what Xianwei was trying to do. Lu Li dashed toward Tianjin's back like a gust of wind. His role was to distract and sneak up on Tianjin. Soon, Lu Li realized what the earth-drilling rats were for. As Tianjin dashed over, the earth-drilling rats crawled out from the ground and dashed toward Tianjin in a blur of yellow light. What is that? Tianjin had never seen this skill before. The rats did not seem strong. His defense was strong. What was the point of Xianwei creating these things? Boom, 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 boom. Countless earth-drilling rats dashed out and exploded around Tianjin. Tianjin sensed and was speechless. The explosion of the earth-drilling rats was not that powerful. They could not break his defense. Wait, Tianjin soon discovered a problem. Although the earth-drilling rats did not injure him, they caused cracks to appear in the space around him, causing the space around him to become extremely unstable. The result of the unstable space was his speed would be slowed down. The result of this was that he would become a live target. Chapter 2773. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. From underground, more and more earth-drilling rats came charging at him, blasting the space around Tianjin. Tianjin felt like he was stuck in a quagmire that he could not escape from. Ha ha ha. Xianwei laughed out loud and shouted to Lu Li, "Okay, he's a target now. Let's injure him together." Xianwei continued to make more earth-drilling rats and at the same time shot out rays of sword light in the shape of a crescent moon. Those rays of sword light were different from regular ones. They were not physical attacks. They didn't explode when they hit Tianjin. Instead, they went into Tianjin's body and turned into strands of strange energy that began to attack Tianjin's internal organs. You guys from the Rain Clan really are a bunch of scoundrels. Your means are wretched and sinister. Tianjin's eyes burned with anger when he noticed the strands of energy attacking his internal organs. The Rain Clan was not one of the 18 sects, but they were famous in the endless ruins of gods. The attacks of this sect were known for their insidiousness and cruelty. They had many strange modes of attack. Unwittingly, one would be killed. Tianjin's speed was reduced, and he had become a live target. Xianwei could attack him continuously, using gentle energy to damage his body and wear him down. Hoi! Lu Li attacked as well. He used Spirit of Wind. He didn't take out his horn, but just used Spirit of Wind. If Tianjin could not even defend against this kind of attack, then there was nothing Lu Li could do. Lu Li was not in a hurry to defeat Tianjin. Instead, he wanted to wait until both of them were injured and then reap the benefits. Even though this was a competition, Lu Li treated it as a battlefield. He would show no mercy. As long as he could win, everything would be fine. Reputation? What did he need a reputation for? In addition, in this kind of three-person battle royale, everyone had their own plans. You plot against me, I plot against you. Maybe Xianwei was already planning how to inflict serious damage on Tianjin after he defeated him. Roar! Tianjun began to fight back as well. He swung his halberd forward, and a huge shadow of the halberd hacked at Xianwei. Xianwei dodged and barely dodged it. Tianjun continued slashing down, and the speed at which he slashed down was getting faster and faster. A strange scene appeared in the air. Countless halberd phantoms chopped down continuously. Some phantoms appeared quickly, while others slowly disappeared. The halberd phantoms were still chasing after Xianwei. Xianwei's body twisted like a loach as he dodged quickly. At the same time, he formed an earth-drilling mole to affect Tianjun's speed. At the same time, he slashed out with sword light, sending a strange energy into Tianjun's body, slowly exhausting him to death. Lu Li's soul attack came. As he had expected, Tianjun had withstood it. There was an 8th rank enchanted soul in Tianjun's soul, which allowed him to fend off Lu Li's wind soul skill easily. Lu Li did not stop there. Wisp after wisp of ghostly energy floated over and entered Tianjun's soul. Brother Feng, your attack isn't good enough. Xianwei noticed Lu Li's soul attack, but Tianjun was fine. Xianwei was a bit disappointed. He said, Brother Feng, use your strongest attack. If I am injured, you will lose for sure. I know. Lu Li replied bitterly. Brother Xian, Tianjun should have an 8th rank enchanted soul. My soul attack is ineffective against him. Let me try harder. Ha ha. Xianwei sneered. He had an 8th rank enchanted soul as well. Since Lu Li could not crack it, then he was a good for nothing. He could not be of much help. Xianwei thought about it and said, Brother Feng, distract him at close range. It will be difficult for me to dodge. Okay. Lu Li moved closer to Tianjun slowly, but Tianjun ignored him. Tianjun had learned the power of Lu Li's soul attack. It wouldn't affect him much. Lu Li was famous for his soul attacks. He was at the initial stage of the 5th tribulation. Apart from his strong soul, what else could he do? Since soul attacks could not hurt him, then Lu Li was no different from an ant to him. Lu Li moved closer to Tianjun. Tianjun didn't mind. He kept on attacking Xianwei. Xianwei dodged many times. Finally, there was one time when he could no longer dodge. He took the hit. Nice. Tianjun laughed out loud. The halberd in his hand suddenly disappeared, and the halberd phantom above Xianwei's head turned into a real halberd. The halberd struck Xianwei's head with the force of a thunderbolt. Boom! Xianwei's helmet was cracked. His head was bleeding. That being said, his helmet was strong enough to withstand most of the impact. That halberd disappeared after one attack. It had returned to Tianjun's hand. A ferocious smile rose in Tianjun's eyes. He swung the halberd at Xianwei again. At this moment, Lu Li was close to him. Tianjun didn't mind. He just gathered divine energy in one hand and smashed it at Lu Li. Ha ha! Lu Li smiled. He took the attack head-on and was smashed down. Soon, he flew up and reached Tianjun in an instant. At the moment, Tianjun was controlling the halberd to attack Xianwei. There was still an earth-drilling rat next to Tianjun. Lu Li forced his way in. He grabbed Tianjun's arm with one hand and clenched his fist with the other. Lu Li swung his fist at the back of Tianjun's head. Lu Li's physical body was strong now. It could be compared to a quasi-emperor's. After he released the dragon transformation, his physical body was even stronger than an average quasi-emperor's. Therefore, his physical strength could be compared to a quasi-emperor's. Boom! Tianjun's helmet did not crack under this punch. That being said, a strong force was transmitted in. Tianjun's ears were ringing, and he was dizzy. Lu Li kept on punching. At the same time, he used Soul of Wind to the fullest extent, attacking Tianjun in both physical strength and soul. Boom! On the other side, Xianwei was struck by the battle halberd once again. The battle armor on his shoulder shattered, and one of his arms was chopped off. He cried out in agony as he was smashed to the ground. He looked at Tianjun, his eyes filled with hatred and indignation. What? Soon, Tianjun was delighted. Lu Li was behind Tianjun. He kept punching at Tianjun's helmet. At the moment, Tianjun's helmet was showing signs of cracking. Was Lu Li's physical strength that strong? Or was there a special, fundamental principle in his fists? Feng Wooding, you are courting death. Tianjin bellowed in rage. The halberd came back to his hand. He swung the halberd and hacked at Lu Li. The halberd was glowing with 3 different colors of light. The halberd was powerful and the attack was appalling. Lu Li ignored the halberd. He believed that the halberd could not kill him. He had not released the dragon transformation yet. Otherwise, the halberd would only be able to cut off some dragon scales. At the moment, there was a crack on Tianjun's helmet. After a dozen more punches, Tianjun would be badly injured. How could Lu Li give up? Therefore, a glint of determination rose in Lu Li's eyes. He kept on punching, ignoring the halberd that was coming at him. The patriarch of the Holy Lady sect was nervous. Under such desperate attacks, both Feng Wooding and Tianjun could die. But how could they teleport one of them out before the outcome of the battle was decided? No hurry. Shadow Queen waved her hand and said, Feng Wooding knows what he is doing. He will not kill Tianjun. As for Tianjun's attacks, I don't think he can kill Feng Wooding. Boom! As soon as Shadow Queen finished her words, the halberd landed on Lu Li's left arm. Lu Li's left arm was torn apart. His injury was similar to Xian Wei's. Chapter 2774. As a matter of fact, if Lu Li really wanted to defeat Tianjun, he had many ways to do so. However, Lu Li didn't reveal many of his abilities. He didn't even take out his horn. He did this for 2 reasons. For one, he wanted to hide his abilities. For another, he didn't want his identity to be exposed. The later his identity was exposed, the better it would be for him. If he was exposed too early, there would be many variables. This was not the time for the real battle, nor the last few fights. Therefore, he chose to hide many of his abilities even at the risk of being injured. Tianjun is defeated. Is Feng Wooding that strong? Is he really going to become a super dark horse? The spectator stands outside were abuzz with discussion. Under such circumstances, everyone knew that Tianjun had lost. Lu Li was only injured, but Tianjun's helmet was cracked and his head was cracked. If Lu Li had continued, Tianjun would not have just been injured. He would have been smashed to death. Therefore, the patriarchs of the Holy Lady sect activated the sacred patterns without any hesitation. A surge of energy enveloped Tianjun. Lu Li felt it and let go. Tianjun was teleported out. Good. Xian Wei was grinning, proud of himself. He was injured, but so was Lu Li. Xian Wei had a good chance of winning. He had thought that he was doomed. Little did he expect that Lu Li would give him a pleasant surprise. People were in an uproar. They didn't expect that Tianjun would be defeated so thoroughly. Would it be Lu Li or Xian Wei? If it was Lu Li who advanced, he would become a true dark horse. Lu Ling and Xiang Linglong's eyes were filled with excitement. They could not hide their joy. As far as they could see, if Lu Li could defeat Tianjun, then it would be a piece of cake for him to defeat Xian Wei. After defeating Xian Wei, Lu Li would make it to the top 10. Even though they didn't know how far he could go, every step forward was delightful. The battle attracted even more attention. The Shadow Queen even cast her gaze over, wanting to wait for the final result. As a matter of fact, Lu Li was right. The draw was arranged by the Holy Lady sect, and Lu Li's 2 opponents were arranged by Shadow Queen as well. Shadow Queen had her reasons for arranging such opponents for Lu Li. She was taking care of Lu Li and testing his abilities at the same time. If Lu Li could not even deal with these 2, then there was no point in continuing with the rest of the contest. Brother Feng, Xian Wei transmitted his voice, you are seriously injured. I don't think there is a need for you to compete in the next round, right? If you just admit defeat, I, Xian Wei, will owe you a favor. Next time, if you need anything, just let me know. If I, Xian Wei, can do it, I will definitely not decline. Lu Li was hesitant, but he put on a good show. He took out a top-level pellet, swallowed it, and said, Brother Xian, old master said that since we are here, we must make it to the top 10 or he will break my legs. How about, you let me have my way? I owe you my life. Lu Li was just saying this. He knew that Xian Wei would not admit defeat. Xian Wei was sure that he would win. How could he admit defeat? On the other side, Xianwei hesitated for a moment and indeed transmitted his voice. I'm sorry, Brother Feng. I'm really sorry this time. I must enter the top 5 this time. Since Brother Feng doesn't want to admit defeat, I can only force you out. Later, I will set up a table to apologize to you. While he was speaking, the ground under Lu Li began to tremble. Following that, many earth-drilling rats rushed out and exploded around Lu Li. Lu Li's physical armor was not strong, so it could not withstand the attacks. It exploded at once. More importantly, the space around Lu Li began to tremble. He felt like he was stuck in a quagmire and his speed was slowed down. Xianwei used the same trick again. Lu Li was already injured, and it would take some time for him to recover. If Xianwei went on with that kind of attack, Lu Li would be seriously injured, and Xianwei would win for sure. Lu Li was having a headache. The explosions of the earth-drilling rats didn't matter, as they couldn't hurt him too much. What troubled him was that his speed was limited. How could he defeat his enemy when he couldn't use some of his skills? On the other side, Xianwei released that kind of sword light. Streaks of sword light entered Lu Li's body and began to impact his internal organs. But how strong were Lu Li's internal organs? Even though there was some damage, Lu Li's strong healing ability could almost offset the damage. Lu Li thought quickly. He had a sense of direction. He released wind spirit skills one after another. Wisps of invisible wind flew toward Xianwei. At the same time, he released divine energy attacks, which contained a hidden, abominable talisman. He didn't dare to release the abominable talisman directly. Dong Yang had heard of this skill. If Dong Yang recognized it, Lu Li would be in trouble. Lu Li was fine hiding in the divine energy. Even if Dong Yang were watching from the outside, he wouldn't be able to recognize it. What was more, Dong Yang's 2 opponents were not weak either. It wouldn't be so easy for them to advance. Ha. Xianwei dodged quickly with a smile. He was some distance away from Lu Li, so it was hard for Lu Li's attacks to hit him. On the other hand, because Lu Li had become a live target, it was much easier for Xianwei to attack Lu Li. The two seemed to be in a stalemate. One could take a beating, and the other could do nothing to the other. Lu Li's soul attacks were useless against Xianwei, not to mention divine energy attacks. The stalemate was the only way. Clearly, nobody was optimistic about Lu Li's chances. Lu Li was following in Tianjin's footsteps. His speed was limited. It seemed that he could only watch helplessly as he was tortured and then teleported out. Xiang Linglong was worried, but Lu Ling was not. It was said that Lu Li had killed 3 warriors at the middle stage of the 6th tribulation. Therefore, Lu Li's abilities could not be what they seemed to be. He must have some powerful moves that he hadn't used yet. As time went on, Lu Li's wounds seemed to be getting worse, but he was still struggling. His armor was in tatters and blood was coming out of his mouth. His breaths were getting weaker, but he didn't admit defeat. He was holding on. Brother Feng, why do you have to do this? Just give up. I really don't want to keep attacking you. Brother Feng, just give up. It's not necessary. Xianwei kept sending messages to Lu Li, but Lu Li made up his mind. He was like a stubborn kid, unwilling to admit defeat and unwilling to give up. Xianwei was helpless and hypocritical to the extreme. After a while, Lu Li said, Brother Xian, if you are a man, then give me a quick death. Don't torture me with soft words. I promised the old man that I would fight with all my might. Come on, knock me out and give me a dignified way to get off the stage. Fine. Xianwei thought for a while. He didn't release the earth-drilling rat. As far as he could tell, Lu Li was seriously injured. Not even a lord could survive, let alone a 5th tribulation warrior. Xianwei didn't want to waste any more time. He wanted to inflict a heavy blow on Lu Li and shatter Lu Li's hope. Xianwei dashed over like a mad dragon. He wanted to fight Lu Li face to face and defeat him fair and square. Xianwei wanted others to see that apart from the unorthodox ways, the Rainwater sect could also defeat the enemy head-on. Here is my chance. Lu Li, on the other hand, was laughing on the inside. It seemed that he was badly injured, but it was not a big deal. He had tricked Xianwei successfully. Chapter 2775. Xian Wei was confident. Even though he had just reached the sixth tribulation, there was a fundamental difference between him and a warrior of the fifth tribulation. Lu Li was best at soul attacks and physical attacks. Now, soul attacks were ineffective against him, and his physical body was seriously injured. Xian Wei believed that he could defeat Lu Li. He violently charged forward, unleashing another true intent that he was extremely proud of. It was a darkness-type true intent that was extremely domineering. He had comprehended it from the Xian clan's ancestral grounds, and it was a killer move created by an old ancestor. Xian Wei put away the hooked sword and took out a wand. As he waved it, dark elements gathered around him. Next, a gigantic black beast condensed in the sky. The pressure of the beast was extremely terrifying. The entire sky trembled because of the appearance of the beast. Lu Li was solemn. This man's attack was horrifying and powerful. But Lu Li was not afraid. At the very least, given his defense, the attack could not kill him. If he were to use the dragon transformation, the attack wouldn't inflict much harm on him. Secretly, Lu Li began to build unwoeful talismans and hid them in his body so that others could not see them. Later, he could release them together with divine energy. He released his attack. His entire body shone with seven-colored light. He was as bright as the sun. At the same time, he shot out a few beams of seven-colored divine light. Those divine lights turned into giant dragons that roared high up in the sky. It was as if they were going to tear the entire sky apart. At this moment, everyone that was paying attention to the battle couldn't help but pay attention to the sky. They wanted to see how powerful Lu Li's seemingly powerful attack was. Woo-woo, at that moment, a low horn sound suddenly sounded. However, it only sounded for a moment before it stopped. That deep horn sound was like a knife stabbing into Xian Wei's heart. Xian Wei's heart skipped a beat. Xian Wei's attention was attracted by the seven-colored dragons Lu Li released. He used psychic power to check on the dragons. But he was confused. Apart from the fact that the dragons were powerful, they did not pose any threat to him. They looked like silver spears with wax tips, pretty but useless. Oh no, I have fallen into a trap. Xian Wei suddenly sensed countless powerful soul needles stabbing towards his soul. This soul attack was 10 times stronger than before. He panicked. The dragon that Lu Li released was just to distract him. The real move was a soul attack. Die! He shouted in rage. He generated the beast of darkness and charged at Lu Li. He was terrified and felt he could not stand Lu Li's soul attack. Therefore, he wanted to defeat Lu Li before his soul was injured. As for, could Lu Li withstand his attack, and would he be killed? He didn't care about these things. Anyway, the powerhouses of the female holy sect were always paying attention to them. Even if they died, he wouldn't be blamed. The elders of the Holy Girl sect were all nervous, and some of them even looked to the Shadow Queen. After noticing that the Shadow Queen was staring at Lu Li, they were slightly relieved. Based on Shadow Queen's abilities, if Lu Li was really about to be killed, she would make a move to shatter Xian Wei's attack. Xiang Linglong's heart tightened. She pinched the corner of her palace dress with one hand. If someone was paying attention to her at this moment, they would definitely be able to see some clues. Fortunately, the other battlefields were very intense, and no one was paying attention to this side. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Li was swallowed up by the beast of darkness. Many people were nervous. They all wondered if this was the first time that Hua Yang would die in the discussion of Dao. Would this be the moment? The space around Lu Li was torn apart. Lu Li was smashed away like a sack, badly mutilated. Many people checked with psychic power. To their surprise, Lu Li was still alive. It was just that his injuries seemed to have worsened. When the patriarchs of the female holy sect noticed that the Shadow Queen didn't move, they already knew what was going on. They were relieved to see what was happening. Many people exclaimed to themselves, was Lu Li an unkillable cockroach? Even such a powerful attack could not injure him. Was his body as strong as a quasi-emperor's? Whoosh! Lu Li dashed over like a mad dragon. Xian Wei, on the other hand, was scared out of his wits. He didn't even have time to react. Lu Li approached him easily. Lu Li grabbed Xian Wei's neck with one hand and smashed at Xian Wei's head with the other. Boom, boom, boom. Xianwei didn't fight back. He just let Luli do as he pleased. Luli was fast. In the blink of an eye, he had punched for dozens of times. Xianwei's helmet was smashed open and his head was cracked. Buzzing, Xianwei followed in Tianjin's footsteps and was teleported out. Otherwise, he would have been killed by Lu Li. People outside were in an uproar. They all used psychic power to check Xianwei, who was teleported out. However, Xianwei was still standing where he was, not moving at all. He seemed to be possessed. Soul attack. Someone finally realized that Xianwei's soul was in a mess. His soul was in serious condition. His 8th rank enchanted soul was trying its best to resist the invading soul energy. He himself was doing his best to resist the soul attack as well. Otherwise, his soul might collapse. I see. Everyone came to their senses. But another question came to their mind. If Luli had such a powerful soul attack, why didn't he use it before? Why did he have to endure Xianwei's fierce attack and get himself injured? Thank goodness. Luli checked with psychic power after he was teleported out. He was relieved to find that Dong Yang was still in there. Was it easy for him? In order to hide his identity and abilities, he was beaten up so miserably. Soon, Xianwei was taken away. A patriarch took him down in person to clean up the soul energy in his soul in case there was a problem. How could Xianwei explain to the Xian family if he became an idiot after the Huayang seminar? Luli appeared to be badly injured as well. A patriarch came and asked if he needed to go down to tend to his wounds. Luli was fine, but seeing so many people were paying attention to him, he nodded and was taken away by 2 female disciples. For fights had been finished outside. Hua Tiandao won, and so did Wen Xiang. Lu Li and another warrior at the middle stage of the 6th tribulation. For out of the top 10 had emerged. Dong Yang was having a hard time. 2 of his opponents were working together, and one of them had a sovereign weapon. Dong Yang was having a hard time. He was confident that he could win. That being said, his 2 opponents were giving their all. It would not be easy for him to win. The other 2 most popular ones had a good chance of winning as well. After all, they were disciples of super sections. They had many treasures and were powerful. They could fight against 2 opponents at once. Sister Ling. Even though Xiang Linglong seemed to have calmed down, she was still excited. She asked, "What do you think Luli will be? Can you enter the top 5? No problem." Chapter 2776. For hours later, the top 10 were decided. The 5 most powerful warriors all made it to the next round. But Dong Yang was in a miserable state. He was badly injured and passed out when he came out. His 2 opponents were in a miserable state as well. They were badly wounded by him in there. The other 4 were all at the 6th tribulation. Lu Li was the only one at the 5th tribulation, which was quite awkward. After this, the Holy Girl sect decided to rest for a month to let everyone recover before the finals. This time, it was not the winners who were qualified to live at the Mount of Huayang. The 30 who stayed at the Mount of Huayang last time were invited to live here again. Those who could make it to the top 30 were powerful and influential. The Holy Girl sect must win them over. But the attitude of the Holy Girl sect toward the top 10 was better. Every one of them was given the best healing pellets and the best fruits. 2 female disciples were sent to serve them. The 2 female disciples were not average maids, but real female disciples. The intention of having 2 female disciples to serve them was clear as well. The 2 could be molested at will, without any responsibility. The Holy Girl sect was short of many things, but not beautiful female disciples. Those who could make it to the top 10 were all powerful warriors with some reputation in the abyss. The Holy Girl sect wouldn't do anything rash. They didn't like the average female disciples anyway. Lu Li was healing, so he went into his room and activated the divine patterns. The female disciples didn't know there were female disciples outside. He knew the finals were in a month, so he didn't go out for a month in case someone invited him again. He couldn't say no or not. His wounds were recovering fast. In a couple of days, he was fine. He continued to cultivate source energy. There was a lot of origin energy now, enough to support him for a period of time. The other young masters began to accept invitations. The entire Mount of Huayang was bustling. Even Lu Ling and Xiang Linglong had to come out to socialize under pressure. As a matter of fact, they wanted to see Lu Li. Unfortunately, he had been in closed-door cultivation and didn't attend any of the banquets. After Lu Ling and Xiang Linglong came out, all the young masters except for Lu Li and Dong Yang swarmed out. It was rare for them to come out. The more aloof the two of them were, the more people loved them. The more aloof they were, the more people loved them. Dong Yang's injuries were so serious that it took him 16 days to heal before he came out from closed-door cultivation. When he learned that Lu Ling and Xiang Linglong had attended 2 banquets, he was filled with regret. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have waited for his injuries to recover. This was a rare opportunity to interact with the two of them. 19 days later, Dong Ying suddenly received a message. He had some doubts in his heart, but he still let the people of the female sage sect take him to the female sage city. Inside a castle, he met with Yang Gang. Yang Gang had joined the Fuyao sect together with him, but Yang Gang had indulged in the pleasures of life and did not strive to improve himself. As a result, he was looked down upon by the powerhouses of the sect. Although many people looked down on him, Dong Yang treated Gang Yang well because he was the only person he had a common language with. The two of them came from the same place, and they were both people who had fallen into the same predicament. What happened? Dong Yang said impatiently after he came in. He was in the Mao Huayang, trying to find a chance to approach Lu Ling and Xiang Linglong. Why was Yang Gang holding him back? Brothering. Yang Gang was all smiles, like a pug. He attentively poured tea for Dong Yang and then said in a serious tone, "I've discovered something, but I don't have any evidence. However, I have a feeling that something is wrong, so I wanted to inform you." "What is it? Why are you being so secretive?" Dong Yang was confused. He said with dissatisfaction, "Just say it. Don't beat around the bush." Okay. Yang Gang said at once, "I suspect that Feng Wooding is Lu Li in disguise. His physical body is strong, and he knows soul attacks. His actions and behaviors are similar. I have been watching him from the stand, and the more I look at him, the more I think he looks like him. A man can disguise his looks, but some habits and behaviors cannot be changed. I don't know Lu Li well, but I think he looks like him." "What is this?" Dong Yang frowned. A glint of anger rose in his eyes as he asked, "Are you sure?" Feng Wooding was not a nameless person, and Old Demon Wind was also a famous person. So how could there be someone to replace him? What is more, Lu Li is a disciple of the sect of Heaven Emperor. If he wants to come, the Holy Lady sect will be more than happy to welcome him. Why would he need to disguise himself? "No." Yang Gang shook his head and said, "The sect of Heaven Emperor did not state that they would come. Even if Lu Li wants to come, he must sneak in. If so, then it is very likely that he is disguising himself. Old Devil Wind is famous, but Feng Wooding is not. Nobody knows him. Lu Li might be wearing a mask." "What you said is not impossible." Dong Yang nodded and asked back, "The thing is, where is the proof?" "Without proof, you can go to the Holy Lady sect and ask them for help. What if he is not Lu Li? At the very least, even if the Holy Lady sect believes that he is Lu Li, so what? It is an honor for the Holy Lady sect that a disciple of the sect of Heaven Emperor can come to the seminar. There is no proof." Yang Gang scratched his head and said, "We will have to keep observing and make sure that he is Lu Li. It is hard to say now. After all, there are many warriors with strong physical bodies, and many know how to use soul attacks. This cannot be regarded as proof." "Right." Dong Ying thought about it. "Soon," he sneered and said, "keep an eye on him. As soon as Lu Li takes out any unique artifacts or skills, let me know at once. If he really is Lu Li, then his purpose must be to win first place and then take away the Dragon Rebel Antelope and Xiang Linglong." Ha! Even if he does win first place, the Holy Lady sect will not agree if I expose his identity. Also, I heard that the Guan family hates Lu Li to death. If it is Lu Li, we can send a message to the Guan family and have them do the dirty work. This place is far away from the sect of Heaven Emperor. The Guan family will be interested." "Yes, that is right." Yang Gang was excited as well. He rubbed his hands and said, "Brothering, this is a good move. Get someone to do the dirty work. I have not liked this guy for a long time. If there is a chance, I will kill him. A little impatience will spoil great plans. Dong Yang warned, you must stay calm. Do not do anything on your own. You must ask me first. Lu Li's identity is different now. He is a disciple of the sect of Heaven Emperor, and he is more famous than I am. He is Emperor Rui's disciple. If the fact that we are plotting to kill Lu Li gets out, the sect of Heaven Emperor will send a punitive force to punish us. I may be fine, but you may not. Yes, of course. Yang Gang felt a chill down his spine. He knew his status in the sect very well. If it were not for Dong Yang, he would be nothing. He had never thought about going back to the third heaven. He would rather spend his days here. He and Dong Yang had checked many history books of the Fuyao sect. They realized that in order to go back to the third heaven, they must go to the fourth heaven first. The problem was that the fourth heaven had collapsed. How could they go back? Phone wooding? Lu Li? Chapter 2777. Soon a month had passed. The finals began. This time, there were more than the 30 or 40,000 spectators. The number had doubled, and there were many powerful warriors. There were at least 1,000 more lords. Many people didn't pay much attention to the battles at the beginning. The finals would be more exciting and interesting, attracting more spectators. This time, the Celestial Emperor's sect didn't come, but more than half of the young talents in the endless ruins of gods were here. The battles this time could be regarded as high-level among the young generation of the endless ruins of gods. There were 10 great Emperor Realm warriors from the Holy Lady sect. The Holy Emperor didn't show up, but the fact that so many great Emperor Realm warriors were here indicated how much the Holy Lady sect valued them. This was an unprecedented event. It was unknown if there would be another one like this later on. Lu Li and the others were all healed. They were sitting in the outdoor pavilions. Many young masters were in splendid attire. They dressed themselves up to look handsome and elegant, showing their graceful bearing as young masters from wealthy families. There were some young ladies from prestigious families on the grandstand as well. They looked at the young masters with passion. The 10 young warriors were famous and admired by many young ladies. Hua Tiandao and the others were in high spirits. They were sharpening their swords, ready to fight for a higher ranking. This time, the Celestial Emperor's sect wasn't in the Huayan seminar, but so many sects were participating. The Endless Ruins of Gods was influential. If they could win the top 3, they would be famous and awe-inspiring. This was a good opportunity. Everyone would try their best. Nobody would hold back or give up. They would fight to the end. Dong Yang and Hua Tiandao were full of ambition. They vowed to win the first place. Under the watchful eyes of many, the patriarch of the Holy Lady sect announced the rules of the finals. The rules were simple. They would also fight in pairs. But this time it was not by drawing lots, but by voting. The Holy Lady sect invited those who were willing to vote to rank the 10 based on their strength. Then, the ranking would be decided by the most votes. The first would fight against the second, the third against the fourth, the fifth against the sixth, the seventh against the eighth, and the ninth against the 10th. After this round, the ranking of the top 5 would not be decided immediately. The 5 winners would be challenged by the losers. If no one challenged you, then you would be in the top 5. If someone challenged you and you lost, then you would be eliminated. Of course, this challenge could only be issued once. However, the rest period was rather short. You could only rest for 1 day. No matter how heavily injured you were, you could only rest for 1 day before you had to accept the challenge. Winning a challenge did not mean that one would immediately advance to the next round. Instead, they would have to continue accepting challenges, and they would still have to accept 2 challenges. Only by winning both challenges would they be able to advance to the top 5. Such a rule was a little complicated, but after it was announced, everyone accepted it because it was very fair and just. Fight with people who are close to you and rely on your own abilities to advance. Failure doesn't mean that you don't have a chance. You can continue to challenge others and win the chance to enter the top 5. Damn it. After Lu Li learned about the rules, he cursed himself. The rules were very disadvantageous to him. Even if he could win the first match, he would definitely be the target that many people would want to challenge. In other words, if he wanted to enter the top 5, he would have to fight 2 matches, and he would have to win these 2 matches. Luli was not worried about the first fight. Judging from the abilities he had shown, the onlookers would think he was the weakest among the 10. Therefore, his first opponent would not be too powerful. The key was the second match. The 5 of them would definitely fight in pairs, which meant that someone would be defeated. It was very likely that he would be the first target for those who were defeated to challenge. Whatever. Luli sighed. No matter what, he would have to fight 2 matches. It was pointless to think too much. He would be ready for 2 tough fights. The further he went, the more powerful his opponents would be. There was no chance of cheating. The onlookers were willing to vote. They were happy to participate. It was like playing a game. That being said, most of them didn't act rashly. They gave the ranking based on reasonable and objective judgment. The voting took 6 hours. The Holy Maiden sect sent out a large number of disciples. The work was done in an orderly manner. The ranking was announced according to the number of votes. The first was Hua Tiandao, the second was Wen Xiang, the third was Lu Yun, the fourth was Dong Yang, and the fifth was Tu Ying. It was no surprise that the 5 were the top 5 in everyone's mind. Luli was not surprised either. He was at the bottom, 9th place. The 10th place was a warrior at the initial stage of the 6th tribulation. Phew. Luli exhaled. The first match wouldn't be too hard. The key was the second. But he didn't know who was going to challenge him. If it was one of the 5, then he would have to show his real abilities, which might expose his real abilities. Well, I cannot use the dragon transformation. Once I do, my identity will be exposed. I must use my source energy in the second match. I cannot get hurt in the first one. Otherwise, everyone will think I am a pushover and they will come to bully me. Luli thought about his tactics. The patriarch of the Holy Maiden sect announced the start of the match. Luli had to walk out from the attic and go to the designated battlefield. His body flashed, and he entered the battlefield. The other person who was ranked 10th also followed. His name was Yuan Qian, a disciple of the Heaven Blood sect, one of the 18 sections. He was not powerful, but he was quite famous. He was very young, only a bit over 100 years old. It was horrifying that he could reach such a realm at such a young age. The Heaven Blood sect didn't send him here for him to get a high rank. They just wanted him to have more chances to gain experience and mature faster. Yuan Qian didn't have the frivolity of a young man who had achieved success. Instead, he had the shyness of an inexperienced young man. His looks were feminine, like a girl. After he came in, he smiled shyly, cupped his fists, and said, "Greetings, young master phone. Please advise me." Luli had a good impression of him. He cupped his fists and said, "Young Master Yuan, nice to meet you. This time, I know I'm no match for you." Yuan Qian suddenly said, "I know I will lose, but I will try my best. Young Master, you don't have to go easy on me. Every fight is an opportunity for me to learn and improve." "Oh," Luli was surprised. He replied, "Young Master Yuan, why do you say that? You are not a young master of a noble family to admit defeat before the fight even starts." "Ha." Yuan Qian replied with a smile. "I have a natural instinct, and I have never been wrong about it. I feel that you are strong and dangerous, maybe more dangerous than anyone else. You should be the most powerful of all." This time, Luli was stunned. He looked into Yuan Qian's eyes, which were filled with sincerity. He didn't seem to be joking. Then he must be serious. Did he really have such a horrifying instinct? Never mind. A soft sword appeared in Lu Li's hand. He released the dragon wrestling skill and the heaven armor skill. He dashed forward like a dragon and shouted, "Young Master Yuan, be careful. Bring it on." Yuan Qian's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. He said with a smile, "It is my honor to be defeated by young Master Foam. Young Master Foam, please do your best. I want to see the abilities of a real genius." Chapter 2778. The Real Genius. Many people were paying attention to Lu Li's fight, and Yuan Qian's words were heard by many. They were surprised. What did Yuan Qian mean? Were the others not geniuses? As far as Yuan Qian was concerned, Lu Li was the most powerful one. What did he see that from? How come no one could tell where Lu Li's genius was? Whoosh! Lu Li was dashing over. Yuan Xian appeared to be relaxed, but he was on high alert, as if he was facing a formidable enemy. Yuan Xian took out a shield and held it in front of him with one hand. He had a spear in the other hand, which was burning with flames. The flames seemed to be so hot that the space around them was twisting. Lu Li rushed over. A saber appeared in his hand. While he was in midair, he hacked at Yuan Xian. A ray of sword light tore through the sky and poured down like a galaxy. Lu Li's elixir was useless now. He had no divine energy left in him. He had acquired it later. Since there was no place to store the divine energy, Lu Li stored it in his acupoints. The 720 acupoints were like bottomless pits that could store endless divine energy. Boom! The ray of sword light landed on the shield, causing a huge explosion. The space around them was torn apart. The noise of the explosion never stopped. The horrifying airwaves smashed Yuan Xian away. Swish, swish. Lu Li continued to generate honest talismans and then released rays of sword light. The rays of sword light fell down with overwhelming force. They were more like surging waves, coming one after another. Boom, boom, boom. Yuan Xian's shield was strong enough that it didn't shatter. That being said, Yuan Xian was knocked back. His blood was tumbling, and he was panting. Lu Li was building honest talismans quickly. His attacks did not stop as well. They were like surging water. Like a dam collapsing, Yuan Xian was pouring out. Yuan Xian had to endure Lu Li's attacks. He could not fight back. Brother Feng. While defending against Lu Li's attacks, Yuan Xian yelled, "I can handle this. Please, use your strongest attack and show me." Buzzing. Lu Li didn't mind. He would not do that when he could avoid exposing his abilities. After some thought, he decided to try his soul attack. He wanted to see if he could use it to defeat Yuan Kuang. The soul needles drifted over like a gust of wind and entered Yuan Kuang's body. Soon, Lu Li was taken aback. When his soul attack reached Yuan Xian's head, it was like mud flowing into the sea. There was no effect at all. After his soul needles entered, they were all devoured, and the devouring speed was extremely fast. When Lu Li fought against Tianjun and Xianwei, both of them had 8th rank enchanted souls, but nothing like this happened. There could only be one explanation. Yuan Kuang had a 9th rank enchanted soul in his soul. Looks like Yuan Kuang is highly regarded in the sect. Lu Li puckered his lips. It was nice to be a young master of a wealthy family. Not even patriarchs of regular big sects had a 9th rank enchanted soul. Above grade 9 were the most powerful sacred grade demonic souls. However, it was unknown if there were any sacred grade demonic beasts in the entire endless divine ruins. Grade 9 was almost the highest grade of demonic souls. Soul attacks are useless against him. Even though Lu Li didn't take out his horn, he was sure that soul attacks could not defeat him. His eyes turned as he continued to attack, while thinking about how to defeat him. There is no other way. Lu Li decided to use his origin energy after much thought. But he didn't want to do it so soon. He wanted to wait. He knew that many people were paying attention to him. He had to maintain this mode of attack. Many people would feel tired in this way, and the fight would not be interesting. By then, when everyone's attention was diverted to other fights, Lu Li could sneak in. Once he used his origin energy, Lu Li believed that many great Emperor Realm warriors would be able to sense it. However, as long as they were not paying attention to Lu Li, the fight would be over by the time they noticed him. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Li kept on attacking. At the same time, his other hand began to make some fancy moves. In an instant, Lu Li felt as if he was glowing. Surges of powerful qi and energy spread out. Every now and then, there would be some 7-color dragons soaring into the sky, similar to when he attacked Xianwei. This again, does Feng Wuding think we are idiots? Does he think Yuan Kuang is an idiot? These attacks have no substance. They're not powerful. Do you think he's trying to scare a kid? That's right. How many times has he used this? I'm speechless. Soon, the spectators were in an uproar. They felt their intelligence was being insulted. It It was fine to use it once, but to use this kind of low level means repeatedly. Did he think everyone in Yuan Kuang were idiots? Yuan Kuang was speechless as well. He told Lu Li to use powerful attacks, not these childish methods. On the other hand, Lu Li's attacks were fierce. Yuan Kuang had to wait quietly. Yuan Kuang believed that Lu Li would use powerful attacks, or else Lu Li would not be able to defeat Yuan Kuang based on his current methods. Lu Li didn't care what others thought of him. He kept on releasing those colorful and powerful ultimate moves. He continued to attack with divine energy that was infused with the Honesty Talisman. He seemed to be enjoying the process. These colorful and powerful killing moves were very easy to release. It was just a kind of secret technique. It was effective against low-level warriors, but powerful ones could see through it. None of these moves would put one's soul in danger. After the time for one incense stick to burn, the spectators were tired of watching. They retracted their psychic power and turned their attention to the other fights. Hua Tiandao against Wen Xiang and Lu Yun against Dong Yang. Both of these fights were interesting. At this moment, the two fights became more intense. After testing each other's strength, they began to use their ultimate moves. Many people on the spectator stands cried out in surprise. Lu Li secretly used the trace of Dao to sense the situation around. He was delighted to find that many psychic powers were disappearing. His plan seemed to have worked. Many people were no longer paying attention to this side. Wow! After the time for half an incense stick to burn, people on the spectator stands suddenly cried out in surprise. Hua Tiandao had released a very powerful ultimate move. He cut off Wen Xiang's arm with one move. Wen Xiang also released an attack that blasted Hua Tiandao's chest into a bloody mess. At this moment, Lu Li felt the psychic power enveloping him was at its lowest level. Without any hesitation, he gathered some source energy from his elixir. At that moment, the chi and energy in Lu Li's body were horrifying. At first, Lu Li was like a wolf, but now he was like a dragon. Finally going to release a powerful killer move, Yuan Kuang's eyes glowed brightly. Light shields began to condense around him, wrapping him in layers. He wasn't afraid at all. Instead, he was excited. From the beginning to the end, he didn't fight back. He was waiting for Lu Li's powerful attack. This was because he knew that no matter how he fought back, he would lose. He might as well try his best to defend and see if he could hold on. Swish! Hiss! Several seven-colored dragons flew out from Lu Li and they dashed toward Yuan Qian. Accompanying these divine dragons was a white saber gleam. This saber gleam did not look like the rainbow saber gleam from before. It looked like an ordinary divine power attack. This is Yuan Qian's eyes narrowed. He completely ignored the seven-color divine dragons and stared at the ordinary-looking saber gleam. He sensed a very strange aura. He felt that the blade light could easily tear apart everything and destroy everything. Chapter 2779. Yuan Qian was a disciple of the Heaven Blood sect. He was not an average disciple. He was a direct descendant of the master of the Heaven Blood sect. His grandfather was a warrior of the great Emperor realm. What was more, Yuan Qian had demonstrated his talent since he was a child. He reached the Lord realm at the age of 100. He had a good personality. All the powerful warriors in the sect thought highly of him and liked him. That was why he had the protection of the 9th rank enchanted soul. If it were not for the fact that Yuan Qian was sent here for training, he would have been given the great emperor weapon and armor. Yuan Qian had been in contact with warriors of the great emperor realm and had seen many of their fights. The powerful warriors of the Heaven Blood sect brought him here on purpose to train him. Others would not have reacted so quickly, but Yuan Qian soon came to his senses. This was the presence of source energy. Yuan Qian felt bitter. He knew why he felt Lu Li was the most dangerous. Lu Li had something that did not belong to him. Or maybe Lu Li himself was of the great emperor realm. But Yuan Qian dismissed this possibility right away. Lu Li was too young. If he was of the great emperor realm, he would have been famous. If he were, he would not have come to this boring discussion. Great emperors had their own pride. Yuan Qian did not hesitate. The shield disappeared. It was a piece of artifact, and he did not want Lu Li to destroy it. Yuan Qian took out another piece of artifact which grew in size and enveloped him. It was a good one. It was a bell, a piece of artifact that was refined by a forefather for many years for protection. Yuan Qian had used the bell several times. It was cracked and beyond repair. He was going to give it up this time. Boom! Without any mishaps, the ancient bell shattered into pieces and scattered all over the sky. The ray of sword light landed on the shield around Yuan Qian. Yuan Qian had generated more than 10 layers of shields, which was a strong defensive skill. Boom, 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 boom. The powerful shield of light was torn apart layer by layer. The first few layers were effortless. However, the blade of light gradually weakened. When the final layer of the shield of light was torn apart, the blade of light finally disappeared. The armor on Yuan Qian's body cracked, and a bloody gash appeared on his chest. That is horrifying. Blood flowed from the corner of Yuan Kuang's mouth, and his eyes were filled with lingering fear. His chest heaved up and down violently. That terrifying aura just now had suffocated him, making him feel like a demon from hell was grabbing at him, causing his soul to tremble. He didn't suffer too heavy of an injury. The ancient bell had blocked most of the attack power. The light barrier had been completely torn apart, and the battle armor had blocked the final attack. Of this, everyone had the same conclusion. Overlord Realm warriors would have a strange chi and energy inside them, which others called Emperor's Might. This chi and energy could not be concealed, but Lu Li did not have it. It was common knowledge in the endless ruins that those below the Overlord realm could not have source power. Therefore, their conclusion was that the source power did not belong to Lu Li. It was likely that Demon Feng had used some special means to seal it up and force it into Lu Li's body. Shadow Queen, what should we do? A patriarch turned to Shadow Queen. She woke up from her thoughts. She waved her hand and said, Yuan Qian has admitted defeat. There is nothing more to say. Means are not important in a fight. Winning is a matter of ability. The patriarch understood. She teleported Yuan Qian and Lu Li out and announced, Feng Wooding wins. On the grandstand, many people were still paying attention to Hua Tiandao's fight. They were surprised to hear the patriarch of the Holy Lady sect. When they saw Lu Li and Yuan Qian coming out, and Yuan Qian's chest was still bleeding, they burst into an uproar. How did Lu Li win all of a sudden? He was the first one to win. He was not hurt at all. How could he win so easily? Also, Yuan Qian's wounds were not serious. How could the fight end so quickly? Many people could not figure it out, so they began to ask and discuss. Of the 60,000 to 70,000 people on a grandstand, several hundred noticed what happened just now. The news spread out and caused an even bigger uproar. Lu Ling and Xiang Ling Long had been paying close attention to Lu Li. Their eyes were filled with passion and a trace of surprise. They didn't know about source power, so they didn't understand why Lu Li's random attack could not injure Yuan Qian badly. How could Lu Li win so easily? Chapter 2780. Lu Li was not injured, so he didn't need to tend to his wounds. He went back to the outdoor pavilion to rest and watch. Many people wanted to ask Yuan Qian what attack Lu Li used to defeat him, but Yuan Qian didn't answer any of them. He went back to the outdoor pavilion and took the time to tend to his wounds. Everyone had the right to challenge. Yuan Qian knew it would be difficult to reach the top 5, but he still wanted to have a try. Lu Li consumed the 2 elixirs. He used psychic power to observe the fight and pay attention to the powerful moves of those warriors. At the moment, the fight between Hua Tiandao and Wen Xiang had reached the most intense state. Neither of them wanted to admit defeat. Naturally, they would fight to the end. Both of them were disciples from wealthy families and had many treasures. Their abilities were close to that of a quasi-emperor. They were neck and neck. Wen Xiang also had a sovereign weapon armor with amazing defensive abilities. It was a pity that his armor was only an inner one. It could only protect his body, not his arms. Hua Tiandao's weapon was a sovereign weapon as well. Otherwise, Hua Tiandao wouldn't have been able to tear Lu Li's arm off. The 5 of them are powerful, Lu Li exclaimed after a few glances. The 5 of them were indeed the chosen ones, representing the peak of the young generation in the endless ruins of gods. Dong Yang was at the 3rd heaven, but he wasn't as strong when he was at the 3rd heaven. Clearly, he had improved a lot in the Fuyao sect. The second fight came to an end after the time for 2 incense sticks to burn. But it was not the first fights that ended, but the 7th and 8th. The fact that those with relatively lower strength had ended the battle first showed the cruelty of the battle between the strong. Boom! After the time for 1 incense stick to burn, when Xiang smashed Hua Tiandao away in one move. Hua Tiandao's chest was already torn open. After this move, he spat out blood and passed out. The fight was over. What? Hua Tiandao was the number 1 voted by countless people. How could he lose? Was Wen Xiang that powerful? Even though Wen Xiang had a sovereign weapon armor, many people thought Hua Tiandao's attacks were more ferocious. Offense was the best defense. Boom! Almost at the same time, another fight came to an end. Tu Ying defeated the 6th warrior and won the fight. Now, only Dong Yiying's group had yet to determine the winner. The 2 of them were evenly matched. Their battle prowess was about the same, and they were both having a hard time. Both of them were seriously injured. They were competing with their willpower to see who could last longer. After another 30 minutes, Dong Ying narrowly won in one move, and the first round of the competition was over. Of the 5 battles, apart from Lu Li, which was unacceptable, the others were okay. Lu Li's victory was inexplicable. Many people couldn't figure out how Lu Li had won. Had Lu Li and Yuan Qian reached an agreement? Was Yuan Qian deliberately letting him win? Stop fighting for a day. The elder of the Saintist sect shouted loudly. The challenge will begin in 1 day, no matter what happens. Everyone, hurry up and recover from your injuries. 1 day? Can Hua Tiandao recover from such a serious injury? Yeah, he's in a coma now. Don't tell me he won't wake up after a day. Lu Yun's injuries are also very serious. How much of his combat strength can he recover in a day? This is too cruel. It can't be helped. This competition is no different from a real battle. Sometimes, luck is also a factor. Who asked you to be injured? There was a lot of discussion. Many people didn't even leave during the day. They just waited for the challenge to begin. The challenge match was much more interesting than this. The challenge match will be much more intense and cruel. Lu Li was very relaxed. He felt like he was ready to throw caution to the wind. As long as he could make it to the top 5, the final would be decided in one fight. By then, it wouldn't matter even if his identity was exposed. Some people went back to their rooms to rest. Lu Li sat in the pavilion to cultivate. Many people wanted to ask him about origin energy, but Shadow Queen didn't say anything. The others didn't ask either. So what if Lu Li had origin energy? So what if old demon wind forced origin energy into Lu Li's body? The competition was to be held in a normal way. Whatever methods were used, as long as one could win, it would be a proof of one's ability. The world was unfair. When Xiang and the others had sovereign weapons which didn't belong to them, they were given by their families. To a certain extent, Lu Li's was no different from sovereign weapons. They were both means given by their families. Time flew by. 1 day was supposed to be a short time, but for the tens of thousands of spectators, it was a long time. For the losers, however, it was too short. They wished they could cultivate for a few more years. Time's up. Let the challenge begin. All the challengers and the challenged, please come in. With the shout of the elder of the Saintist sect, the challenge finally began. The rest of the people who were healing in the castle came out. What made many people ecstatic was that Hua Tiandao had actually woken up, and his injuries seemed to have mostly healed. At least, that was what it looked like. The Hua family must have paid a fortune. He must have consumed a holy great elixir, or else he wouldn't have recovered so fast. Yes, he is so badly injured, and he is in a coma. In just 1 day, he has recovered so much. He must have consumed a holy great elixir. He is so rich. A holy great elixir is equal to a life. He consumed it just like that. Don't you know what kind of family the Hua family is? For the Hua family, reputation is more important than anything else. If Hua Tiandao can't even make it to the top 5, then it will be a disgrace. Many people exclaimed. They were looking forward to the next challenge even more. Many people were looking at Lu Li, wondering how he would deal with the next challenge. The patriarch of the Holy Lady sect announced the rules. The challenge would take turns to choose, but not those who had fought before. The rule was simple. The first to lose would be the first to choose. That was to say, Yuan Xian would be the first to choose, and Lu Yun would be the last. Relatively speaking, the first to lose would be the weakest. The Holy Lady sect would take care of them and let the weakest choose first. The winners were Lu Li, Wen Xiang, Tu Ying of Dongying, and another young master with the surname Wang. He was ranked number 8 before, but he was not that powerful. Yuan Xian could not choose Lu Li, so he chose young master Wang without any hesitation. Wen Xiang, Donya Ying, and the others seemed to have not recovered yet, but Yuan Xian knew himself well enough. He was no match for them, even if they were injured. He still had a chance against young master Wang. The second to choose was number 7. He failed against young master Wang. Lu Li and the others looked at him with excitement, hoping that he would choose him. Comparatively speaking, this man was the weakest. Whichever one he chose would be sending his opponent directly to the next round. I choose. The man hesitated for a bit. Eventually, he looked at Wen Xiang and shouted, I choose. Young Master Wen. Lu Li and the others were disappointed. But on second thought, they could understand. This man would lose no matter who he chose. He might as well do Wen Xiang a favor. Wen Xiang was famous for his loyalty, and he was a disciple of a super-rich family. A favor would be valuable. Hua Tiandao was the third to be eliminated. He glanced over to Lu Li and the other two. Lu Li put on a bitter expression. He believed that Hua Tiandao would choose him because he was a pushover, the easiest to bully. Sure enough, after some thoughts, Hua Tiandao said, I choose wind indefinite. Okay. The only thing on his mind was not to defeat Lu Li, but to kill Lu Li and smash him into pieces. It was not that he had never been humiliated before, but he had never been humiliated by someone of Lu Li's power and status. Good timing. Lu Li used Soul of Wind at once. He also generated the Voidless Talisman and released it with divine energy. Rays of saber light streaked across the sky, causing the space to tremble slightly. It was extremely powerful. Child's play, Hua Tiandao sneered. He hacked at Lu Li with his saber, and a ray of black sword energy swept across. As soon as the sword energy was released, the space in front of Lu Li cracked, and a dark crack appeared. The sword energy was like the mouth of a huge beast that swallowed up all the light around. A strong sense of destruction came from the sword energy. It seemed that the sword energy could destroy everything. Destruction, fundamental principle. Once again, Lu Li put on a solemn expression. He saw that the ray of sword light he created with the honesty talisman bumped into the black ray of sword energy. There was no explosion, but the ray of sword light he generated was destroyed. The Voidless Talisman was a powerful skill created by the Reincarnation Emperor. Lu Li's realm was not high enough that he could not exert the full power of the Voidless Talisman. That being said, the Voidless Talisman had never been destroyed by other attacks before. Swish, swish, swish. The sword energy spread out, and Lu Li's ray of sword energy was destroyed. The sword energy came at Lu Li with an unstoppable force. Luckily, Lu Li had dodged in time, and the sword energy didn't reach him. *T. Another 9th rank Enchanted Soul. Are 9th rank Enchanted Souls free? Are they all over the world? Lu Li noticed that when his soul attack entered Hua Tiandao's mind, it was devoured as easily as when it entered Yuan Kuang's mind. Lu Li curled his lips. The super-rich and powerful families were too rich and resourceful. He would be at a disadvantage if he fought with disciples of these families. The soul was the most important. If the body was destroyed, it could be rebuilt. But if the soul was damaged, then it would be beyond redemption. Therefore, The talented disciples of super rich and powerful families would usually be given high-level enchanted souls by their sections. Hua Tiandao sensed it as well. He sneered and said, "You want to hurt my soul with your soul attack? You must be dreaming." Luli moved quickly and continued to release sword energy at the same time. At the very least, he could stop Hua Tiandao from getting closer. He had observed the fight between Hua Tiandao and Wen Xiang. Hua Tiandao had several powerful moves. "You want to run?" Hua Tiandao shouted. He spun his saber, and the Xian Qi in heaven and earth gathered around him. The space around him became oppressive. The powerful energy spread out, making people's hearts tremble. He is going to use his move. Luli had seen this move before. It was horrifying, even when Xiang was lifted into the sky. If it were not for the fact that he was wearing a sovereign weapon, he would have been defeated. There is no other way. Luli made up his mind. He secretly mobilized his source energy, and at the same time, he began to release the 5-color dragons. The spectators outside immediately booed, but everyone's spirits were lifted. Luli must be about to use the real move, since he was just playing around. Swish! Luli swung his saber. This time, the saber was not colorful but pure white. It seemed to be an average divine energy attack. However, as soon as the move was made, the world seemed to lose its color. Everyone who was here was attracted by this move with psychic power. They sensed great power in it, a power that could tear apart heaven and earth. As the move was made, a huge crack appeared in the space in front of Luli. The cracks were spreading to both sides like a spider's web. What? Hua Tiandao's move was finished. It was a strange tornado that could lift people into the sky. They would lose control of their bodies and be at Hua Tiandao's mercy. Hua Tiandao was attracted by Lu Li's ray of sword light. He also sensed the power in the ray of sword light. Hua Tiandao was shocked. As the most important young master of the Hua family, he had been trained by powerful warriors in the family. He was in constant contact with sovereign realm warriors. He was no stranger to the presence of source energy. How can this bastard have source energy? Is he at the sovereign realm? Out of instinct, Hua Tiandao was frightened. If Lu Li was at the sovereign realm, he would rather surrender. But soon, he came back to his senses. How could there be such a young sovereign realm warrior? Any breakthrough of a sovereign realm warrior would be publicized by the sects and families. This was an unwritten rule and the glory of the sects and families. Old Warlord Wind used a powerful skill to force it into Lu Li's body. Hua Tiandao came to a conclusion. This was the only plausible explanation. Hua Tiandao was a bit relieved. Since Lu Li had to force it in, it must not be too much. Otherwise, how could Lu Li's body stand it? Chapter 2782. This power. How can this move be so horrifying? Is this a move that a warrior of the fifth tribulation can release? How come I feel this power is so familiar? It seems to be the presence of origin energy. The stands outside were in an uproar. At first, at least half of the tens of thousands of people were watching the fight between Lu Li and Hua Tiandao. The other fights were not interesting, and there was no suspense. Many people wanted to see Hua Tiandao make it to the next round. They wanted to see the most powerful warrior they had chosen enter the top 5. There were many lords on the stand, and they were no strangers to origin energy. At first, they were a bit surprised, but as more and more people acknowledged it, more and more doubted it. Soon, everyone was sure that Lu Li's move contained origin energy. Origin energy was a symbol of the Emperor realm. It was the origin energy of a world. It was the origin energy of a world nurtured in an Emperor realm. It was the purest and most powerful force in heaven and earth. Origin energy was the ultimate dream of many warriors. Having origin energy was equivalent to breaking through the Emperor realm, stepping into a new world, and becoming the most powerful being in the world. But today, they sensed the presence of origin energy in the move of a warrior of the fifth tribulation. It was shocking and unbelievable. Tens of thousands of people were talking about it. It was like tens of thousands of ducks were quacking. It was so noisy that it was dizzying. There were all kinds of analyses, guesses, exclamations, and conspiracy theories. Some even claimed that Luli had cheated and that he should be disqualified. The Emperor Realm warriors had known this. None of them said anything. Shadow Queen didn't say anything either. She just used psychic power to check where Lu Li's origin energy was coming from. Did old Demon Wind use a skill to suppress the origin energy in Lu Li's body? Swish, swish, Hua Tiandao came to his senses as well. He swung his saber forward. A tornado was formed, and it whooshed toward Lu Li's ray of sword light. At the same time, Hua Tiandao made another move. A black ray of sword light whooshed out. A jade shield appeared in his hand. He stared at the ray of sword light, and his palms were sweating. This was an attack of origin energy. Whoosh, whoosh, the tornado whooshed on and collided with Lu Li's ray of sword light. Unsurprisingly, the tornado collapsed. Compared to Lu Li's seemingly average ray of sword light, this powerful move was so weak that it was shattered easily. The power of the saber light weakened slightly as it continued to fly forward, colliding with the black saber chi released by Hua Tiandao. At first, Lu Li's innocent talisman and the ray of sword light were destroyed by the black sword energy. But now the tables had turned. The black sword energy was destroyed and the ray of sword light was weakened again. But it was still moving toward Hua Tiandao at a horrifying speed. Buzz, the jade shield in Hua Tiandao's hand lit up and released a dazzling divine light. It quickly grew in size and blocked in front of Hua Tiandao. The white blade light fiercely struck the shield. Boom! The jade shield was engraved with runes, and there was a sense of ancientness. Clearly, it was an ancient artifact. However, it could not withstand Lu Li's sword ray. It was destroyed in an instant and turned into dust. However, after the blade chi broke through the shield, it almost disappeared. In the end, it struck Hua Tiandao's armor, but it was unable to tear through it. Phew, phew, Hua Tiandao took a deep breath to calm down the blood in his throat. He had used 2 moves and a jade shield. He had 3 layers of protection, and only then did he manage to survive Lu Li's attack. How powerful was the source energy? How am I going to block it later? Hua Tiandao's expression was grave. He ran away quickly and thought at the same time. Lu Li, on the other hand, mobilized a strand of source energy to his legs, which sped him up. He went after Hua Tiandao in a blur. Since he had been exposed, it didn't matter to him. Nobody could tell who he was based on source energy alone. After all, apart from the higher-ups of the Heaven Emperor sect, nobody else knew that he had built a state of Dharma. Therefore, he was fearless. He had nearly 10,000 strands of source energy in his state of Dharma, which meant that he could release nearly 10,000 attacks, which was enough for him to use for a long time. When he was closer to Hua Tiandao, Lu Li made 2 moves with his saber, one on the left and one on the right, cutting off Hua Tiandao's escape routes. The 2 moves were also infused with source energy. Both were powerful and fast. **T. Hua Tiandao cursed. He was hesitant at first, but he dared not to hesitate anymore. First, he made 2 moves, releasing 2 strands of black sword energy to attack Lu Li's 2 rays of sword light. Then, he took out a piece of artifact. This artifact was given to him by one of his forefathers for protection. That forefather told him not to use it unless he was in mortal danger. That forefather had spent tens of thousands of years to make this artifact. If it was damaged, it would be gone. It was a white, transparent bead. After Hua Tiandao poured in divine energy, the bead grew in size. A small hole appeared in the bead. Hua Tiandao snuck into the hole and entered the semi-transparent bead. Boom! Boom! The 2 rays of sword light hit the 2 strands of sword energy. The 2 strands of sword energy were destroyed quietly. The ray of sword light went on and hit the semi-transparent bead, respectively. Boom! The bead was smashed away. It was glaring, but soon, the glow dimmed down and the bead was smashed away. What surprised Lu Li was that the bead didn't explode. What is this? Is it a sovereign weapon? Lu Li was taken aback. If it was a sovereign weapon, then it would be troublesome. He would not be able to crack it. That being said, he sensed no energy that was unique to sovereign weapons. It must be a piece of valuable artifact. Let's see how many times you can withstand my attacks with that stupid bead. Luli went after Hua Tian Dao. He made 3 moves in a row. 3 rays of sword light poured out and landed on the bead again. Once again, the bead glowed brightly and was smashed away. Still not cracked, Luli's eyes were wide open. Though the bead was not a sovereign weapon, its defensive ability could be compared to one. Average artifacts could not withstand it. How come he has so much source energy? Hua Tian Dao, on the other hand, was about to cry. The bead was a piece of valuable artifact. It was as valuable as an average sovereign weapon. If Luli made a dozen more moves, the bead would explode and Hua Tian Dao would suffer a great loss. Why is his source energy coming out from the pellet? How can a pellet contain so much source energy? Isn't he afraid that the pellet will explode? By then, Feng Wooding will be vaporized into nothingness. Many great Emperor Realm warriors were concerned. They had been secretly trying to find where Lu Li's source energy was stored. However, they could tell that the source energy came from the pellet. More importantly, so many great Emperor Realm warriors, including Shadow Queen, could not detect Lu Li's pellet with psychic power. Therefore, they were confused. Even if Demon Feng had used some special means to force the source energy into Lu Li's body, it shouldn't be in the pellet. Also, Lu Li had made so many moves. How could Lu Li's pellet store so much source energy? It was inexplicable. This kid is very strange. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.